Did you hear it? I don't know. So if I do, okay, hold on. Check something. Okay, the music works there, but it's not working. Okay. Well, whatever. Just in time for me to go to bed. Sorry, Zeb. All right. I forgot to eat today. FYI. So this should be working now. Totally is. Oh yeah. Now I can close that. You're already here. I know that. But check it out if you want to. You can go to tuxdigital.com/live. And it's got a whole new fancy page that I made. Okay. You have hair out of place only for temporary. Only for temporary. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Thanks for coming. The volume is low? Is that what you said? Even with me talking like right next to it, it's still low? Resource limits to reach. What? Works fine for me. Try swallowing the mic and it's better. All right, cool. When I do the recording stuff, it'll be right here. Well, maybe. I think so. I'm gonna try to be. And that should be better. No. No, this way. This way. Way too much. Wouldn't it be great if I had, like, planned this prior to going live? Yeah. Who would do that? Who would prepare? Right. That should work. Okay. Forgot to convert Michael time, so you take the Michael time, multiply it by 2, add 25, then the sum plus 9 minutes. Yeah. That sounds pretty legit, really. Linux is everywhere. That's right. Ready to hear some news about Linux? Nice. Thanks for coming to the stream, John. Welcome to the stream, Misty, yourself. Nice, Zeb, thank you. That is awesome. Is it doing it backwards? Oh, it's doing it backwards. Tux needs a new mic. Right. I'm working on that, okay? This is a 5-hour stream. I don't know yet. Haven't decided. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. The EU link, I didn't know the EU link was broken at any point. So if that's the case, that'd be unfortunate. Nice. That's a good method. Misty yourself. Having two separate is better. Or having, you know, the testing is a separate thing from the other one. Welcome to the stream, Yannick. 5 versus 5. Welcome, Felipe. I think that's how you say it. Welcome to the stream. Or it could just be Philip. I don't know. And welcome to Linux as well. Thanks, Dan, for helping with the mic fund. All right. I'm going to try something different this week. I normally do a segment and then get stuff ready and then switch to another segment. So there's like a gap between each one. And instead I'm going to try to do like 2 back to back. So like each segment will be 2 topics back to back. And that's because I've streamlined the way I do OBS. So I haven't been doing the show for the past, couple weeks or so. During that time, it's not like I've been ignoring this show. I've been still trying to prep it and stuff. And also, I set up where I can do the OBS easier. So it might be faster switching kind of stuff. Nice, John. Thanks for being on board with the mic fun train. Thank you also, channel owner. I like it. I need to mute that. All right, phone muted. All right. So normally, I don't know what's switching right now. It's going crazy. I clicked some buttons wrong. There we go. I'm going to try to do this. and see if that works. Actually, I'll do it like this. That might work. Wait, what? Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. For the hair gel fund. Thanks, Clive. Being on time fund. All right. Thanks, Rocco, for that. Electric dog collar. Ansem, thank you very much for doing that. It's nice and quiet here in Twitch. Yes, it is, Ansem. I'm going to put some more promoting for Twitch at some point. All the super chats is awesome, dude. Like, thank you very much. Wow. Let's see, I should be ready to go. Except for the fact that I was doing something until I forgot what I was doing. All right. This should work now. Being on time fund. That's why we need to fund it. Yeah. Well, not hitting the microphone fund would be good. Fun would be good too. If we pay him enough, he'll try harder. That's the spirit. I like that idea. Let's see how it works. Anyway. So normally, I'm going to do a lot of trying stuff this week. I'm trying doing two topics back to back. I'm going to try, I feel it's a lost cause. I'd rather go with a hair gel fund. I will use that for sure. Only certain types of hair gel, though. It's very particular. But anyway, so two back to back is the first off. And the other one will be the order of stuff. Normally I kept gaming stuff in the background or like the end of the show, but naturally the biggest news is the gaming news, so that I'm just gonna move it around because that would be kind of ridiculous not to do that. And you might be wondering, well, you might be thinking, I already know what the first topic is going to be. And you're right. You probably do know. But there is some extra benefits to it that you might not be aware of, or an extra information anyway, that you might not be aware of. So it's still like, whatever. Anyway. Not sure what I'm saying. No I like Twitch better than YouTube. No super chat that I can see. Do you like Twitch better than YouTube because there's no super chat, or just making those two statements separately? Yawns games. I mean, it's not just about gaming. It's also about the potential of improving the system, the ecosystem and stuff. Separately. Okay. The reason why is I like Twitch better as far as the chat goes. It's, not really chat, but as far as like the features go, they have a lot more features and controls than YouTube does. But the reason why there's no super chat or anything on Twitch is because I'm not a partner on Twitch, and I am a partner on YouTube. So I can get stuff on. I don't know why there's a difference. Oh, nice, Dion. Thank you for the $5 super chat. That's awesome. Thank you. So there's a certain, you have to hit a requirement for YouTube to get like the partnership stuff, and I've hit that. You have to have a different requirement for Twitch that I haven't hit, and it requires you to like do a certain amount of streams per week, and I don't know if I can hit that or not. So we'll see on that one. All right. So anyway, let's get started. Let's get right into the news. I apologize for that. If anybody gets that reference, I apologize. If you didn't, then don't worry about it. Yeah, if you hit Twitch affiliate, you can no longer stream to YouTube. I agree. Hank. Hank? Is it Hank or Hank? I'm not sure. But yeah, once you become an affiliate or a partner with Twitch, you're not allowed to stream on YouTube either. So you have to, basically, Twitch forces you to pick one. So I don't know. I don't know what I would, if I actually do get the requirement, what I would do, if I would keep it or not. I don't know. Hank. Okay, cool. Yeah, it does suck, Ansem. I agree. But it is what it is. I've just scratched my nose just in case Clive was watching. Whether I have to or not. You're welcome, Clive. Rapidly discovering more and more Linux channels. That's cool. You should also check out Destination Linux. That's a good channel. Podcast as well. And I'm not biased in any way whatsoever about saying that. Or completely biased. Still. Whiskey Nose. Nice. Nice. I'm glad you're naming it now, Clive. Okay. Where have you been, Tux? Mostly stuff getting in the way, yeah. And also, I've been doing Destination Linux. I took over the editing of Destination Linux and the OBS streaming and stuff like that. So that's been a lot of time consuming that I didn't expect. However, this latest episode, I was able to, well, actually the one before that too, I was able to streamline the editing and the streaming or the recording enough where I can pretty much do it reasonably. Thanks for the super chat, Red Robbo. I appreciate that. You're keeping the train going. Don't mean to be a PayPal thinking it would show up here. Didn't even realize it was a super chat that does that. Niels, absolutely. Feel free to do PayPal if you want to. That's fine. But yeah, super chat's the only one that shows here. I would actually I don't know actually whether I'd prefer PayPal or use super chat. The way they work percentage-wise and stuff is kind of like very similar. So I don't know. There's actually going to take a lot of effort to edit. I know. Did it unedited? Yeah, it doesn't take. It depends because there's 3 hosts and Lunduke has just him most of the time, and he doesn't want to edit at all. There's a little bit of editing that involves with the podcast because it's not just live and then recorded and going out. There's a little bit of intro stuff, outro stuff, and if there's outtakes, that's also included in the end of the show because why not? PayPal does take a cut. They take a significant amount depending on how much you do. So if you do a small amount, PayPal takes about the same as YouTube. If you do a big amount, PayPal takes less than YouTube. So it depends on how much is being donated. So if it's like $1, the difference between YouTube and PayPal is basically the same. But if it's like $5, PayPal does a smaller percentage. And the more and more you go up, the less that PayPal takes percentage-wise. Because they do it on a structure of like per transaction. This week's in Linux. Nice. Thanks, Matthias. I don't know what's fake news that you're saying, but I'm going to assume it was a good thing automatically, regardless of what reality is. Welcome to the stream, Steven. iTunes gift cards. Yeah, totally. I would use those immediately with my non-iPhone and non-Windows or Mac computer. The Clive, the big news was there, just in the outtakes. Wasn't in the main show. Tasky needs a lot of editing because he keeps throwing his name in there. Oh, that's what the fake news was about. Okay. All right. Let's get to it, right? Next week, the switching is going to be even better. I have some plans to make it even better, but I don't have time to do it right now. So this week, the switching will be good, and next week it'll be fantastic. So, yeah. But yeah, next week we'll have two back to back for sure. Next week, so one this week and then next week instead of the whole weird hiatus thing that I sometimes randomly do. It will be next week, guaranteed. You said let's get to it 10 minutes ago. That's not relevant, sir. You could just say every time I say something that revolves time, just add ish to it, and that's accurate. So. Thanks coming to the stream, Zeb. Sorry it started so late. Next time, we'll probably, maybe, possibly, perhaps, kind of be on time. I mean, technically, it also was a day late, sort of, than the usual. Anyways. Did you do DL today? We did DL on Friday. we do DL earlier now, and not live. It's live for patrons, not live like it used to be. That might come at some point, but we need to work on, getting that ready again if we do it. So I'm not going to say never, but not right now. Up first in the show this week is Steam for Linux, or Steam Play for Linux. And this is some exciting news, like ridiculous exciting news. You might have heard of it because it's everywhere at this point, but if you haven't, the Steam for Linux, no Steam Play thing, adds the ability to use a custom wine, really. It's a custom wine called Proton that allows you to play Windows games in Linux. Now, these are not necessarily like going to make all Windows games work automatically, but it has a lot of games working, surprisingly, based on the community involvement and stuff like that. But if you haven't heard about it, Proton is a tool for making versions of the Windows games work on Linux. And now this is more like it doesn't make everything work, but depending on like the way it's developed, whether like what version of DirectX it's using, which is currently I think 9, 11, and 12. I don't think 10 is working yet, but they might be making those in the future. But it allows you to play games that are specifically made for Windows and not for Linux, but still get them to work on Linux. And that is fantastic, both in multiple ways, because it could be utilized to make games that are not Steam games, because Proton is not specific to Steam. And it also makes it possible that games or just regular applications could use Proton to work with Linux. So that's pretty cool, like the potential it has there. Now, this news is ridiculous and awesome, so it's hard to like kind of like gauge exactly how, like just to express how great it is. But one of the things that is really cool I found out was the support that it started with, that Steam and Valve announced. They said like they gave you a list of games that they have whitelisted that say they work for sure, no problem. And it's about 27 games. And now there's a list in the show notes that if you want to go check it out, you can find the link on touchdigital.com. But the what's really cool about it is that it's not just Steam that's testing these games. It's the whole community has stepped up and like jumped in and has been testing a ridiculous amount of games. And so far, there's at least over 1,000 games that have been tested and confirmed to work with Proton. Now, there are also other games that have been tested and are not really confirmed yet, but these have been confirmed at least by one person or so that they are working completely with a Proton. Now, there are some, there's some caveats to that, saying that it doesn't guarantee that all hardware is going to work with it, but it's potential that it could. So if you haven't tried it out, and you are a gamer, or you're interested in gaming anyway, you should definitely check out Proton because it's anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, turns out I don't really have any Windows games that are only Windows games. Most of the games I have like 3 games that are not supported on Linux, so I don't have anything to test it with, so I'm going to have to go buy a game that's not Linux-based, because, the whole no tux, no bucks, that's pretty much how I've always been, so I have to now go get a game that might work and test it, and, well, anyway, still amazing that it goes from 27 to 1,000 within a week. That is awesome. And another thing that's kind of cool, I mean, it's kind of like, this is a little bit rude to the Mac users, but I find it amusing and enjoyable. And that when there was a question asked to the Valve team if Mac OS was going to be supported by this new Proton thing, they said no. It's just Linux is the sole focus for the Steam Play functionality, and that is fantastic. Now, just there is a specific thing we point out that some people have argued that because of this happening, some developers might not want to do Linux, like native Linux support, and they would just use this as like a bridge to solve that problem. But you could say that that's a negative, but also I would like to say that it could be a positive too, because of the sense that these applications or these games might not have never come on Linux at all. So like this is a bridge, yes, but it also could be a bridge to more gradual development. So if once they start looking at how to make it work on Linux through this port or this bridge system, then they would be kind of getting like introduced to Vulkan, because Valve said that if you want to have your game supported through the system and you're not looking to do native, you need to make it with Vulkan, and that would make it more likely to work. So getting them gradually looking at Vulkan and getting them realizing why it's good to have that API, it might make them more, it might make them more likely to utilize Vulkan, and then therefore more interested in using native application or native development for games. So there's a lot of potential for this to be fantastic, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this, and I'll keep you up to date with all the new stuff that's coming with it. So, subscribe if you'd like to find out more about that. Next up in the show is Ubuntu Touch over-the-air 4 release. Now, this is a update to Ubuntu Touch from the UBports team. If you're not aware, that a long time ago that Ubuntu Touch was created by Ubuntu, but they decided not to continue making it. However, it was picked up by the UBports team, so there's a community involvement now of creating Ubuntu Touch and keeping it up to date and making it, available for people who would like to use Ubuntu Touch on their phones rather than Android or iOS. Well, basically just Android because it only works on Android phones, but still. So after about 8 months of work, they have resolved over 128 issues and have done big jumps between like the Qt version of 5.4 and 5.9. They've done this by upgrading the core base system from 1504 to 1604 so that it has an LTS supported release. Now this is, you might be thinking, well, 1804 is out now, and you're like, yeah, but it's in the sense of the phone support, there's having the core base system doesn't necessarily need to be constantly up to date with the Ubuntu core, but it should totally be an LTS. That way the security updates and all those things are available. And since now that they are on the 1604 base, they've got all the benefits of having all these different security updates and things like that. And they've also added some new power saving features as well. So if you're interested in checking out a freedom respecting, for the most part, because it does have to use some of the Android utilities, but for the most part, version of software or operating system for your phone, definitely check out Ubuntu Touch over the air if you have a supported device like the Nexus 5 or Nexus 4 or one of the BQ phones or things like that. Unfortunately, there are some issues with the Nexus 5, like the camera app is not working properly, but for the most part, it still works. So if you're interested, give it a shot. Okay, that was 2 back to back. I don't know if that worked out very well. Not sure how that worked. What do you think? So, Nier Automata alone made it amazingly for Linux. Yeah, that's true. I like that. I tested one picture Proton, got a home bundle game, right? All the good calls, go out and buy some Windows games. Exactly. Witcher 3, no Vulkan or on Mac. If The Witcher 3 works, I'm definitely interested, because I know that Witcher 2 works in Linux natively. Well, ish. Sounded good. All right, cool. So do you like the... So does everybody like the... Well, enough, I guess, the way I did 2 back-to-back? Because I don't know if that worked out or not, if it might seem like an awkward transition or something. It might have been an awkward transition, I'm not sure. Because the goal is to be able to like go from one to the other and have it recorded and then edited that way, so I can do like a chunk instead of doing each one and have to keep track of each timestamp for each one. So like start here, then go to the next 2 or the next one or whatever, and then finish that one. Sounded fine to me. I think the 2 worked well together. Okay, cool. because that will make my editing less of a hassle. Because I used to have to do multiple cuts per topic. This way would be more like a couple per 2 topics. It's just the content that was boring. Clive, the Proton thing, you might not care about gaming or anything in general, but like the potential that Proton can bring is fantastic. Because you could bring new, like whole audience to Linux and have a lot more users and stuff like that. Like just by itself, that like the technology behind it is cool, and the fact that I forgot to mention that CodeWeavers was, integral to the development of it. I forgot to mention that. Dang it. No, Rocco, I said that it would be worth trying. Not that it's guaranteed to be better. And it does make it easier to edit. It's just I want to try to make it easier. So, yeah. There's that. There's a couple people who've said that, yeah. There's people who've said on comments on YouTube as well that they can switch now because they were waiting for one particular game. And that one particular game is now there, so they have no reason not to do it. And that's awesome. But there's definitely going to be people who are like arguing that they, it's going to be ruining because so many people are coming, like an influx of people. I don't think that's a negative. I think it's a fantastic positive. But some people are ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Next topic. Up next in the show is Flatpak 1.0 is released, and this is like the first milestone, like big major milestone for Flatpak. And this got a lot of cool improvements to the infrastructure of it. Now Flatpak has been in development for a couple years now, like about 3 years almost, and they've done a lot of good stuff that basically the idea is to have a universal format that you could have an application and not really matters what distro you're using, and you can just install the application and get up-to-date versions and stuff like that. Now, they've recently made it possible to have updated versions that will have automatic updating, which is fantastic. But this one also provides a really interesting app permission system. So you can choose what to provide permissions to the system, or to the applications, I mean. I'm not really sure how far it goes, and how many times it asks you and how many different things that it asks you for, because I haven't found a Flatpak that has that yet. So I'll have to do some more testing to find the full list of things you can do. But what's really cool is that these permission systems allows you to install an application and choose not to have certain permissions. So if you want to have an application but you don't want to allow it to have access to your Bluetooth device, you can choose not to do that. I'm not sure how modular these permissions are set up to be. So maybe you could have Like, let's say, for example, Android has a system that's similar to this where you can have app permissions, but if you say no to any of them, you can't use the application at all. And we don't know exactly like how far you like if everything in Flatpak can be just that can say no to, or just like a couple. So once we have some more Flatpaks that are having these implemented, we'll be able to test to see how far it goes. But another thing that's really cool about it is that it allows it allows the new portal system to allow it to create sandboxes for the individual Flatpaks, and also like auto restart the Flatpaks after updating. So there's a lot of cool benefits that Flatpaks are adding. Now there are other universal formats you should be aware of, like snaps and app images. So to check those out too if you haven't tried them out. But one thing I did want to kind of mention that was kind of weird in the sense that there's a new permission system that grants access to X11, so like the X server, and it kind of makes me wonder, what would the reaction be to someone who's just now using Linux and they've heard about this Flatpak thing and they started installing Flatpaks, and then they're starting to ask questions that they don't really know what any of it means. Like, how far do these permission systems go? And X11 seems like it'd be a pretty important thing to be asked for permissions for. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens there. And if you have tested out the new features of the new app permissions, let me know in the comments below what your experience was, because I'd be definitely interested in knowing that. Also this week, Lubuntu has announced that they will be switching to Wayland on the release of 2010. So October 2020 is when Lubuntu has decided that they will be switching to Wayland. And it's really cool about how they're doing it, because they're, instead of like, there's an issue with Wayland is that it is a protocol for a display server, but it doesn't have a compositor built into it. Like, they have a sample compositor called Weston, but it's not really a production-ready compositor, and it's not intended to be. It's more like a proof of concept type thing. So most DEs would have to provide their own compositor. Now, some of them already do have that. For example, GNOME has Mutter, and that has a compositor for Wayland. And KDE has Quinn, or Kwin. It's technically Quinn, but I don't know why it seems more like it fits more for Kwin. But anyway, the Quinn window manager also has a compositor for it that supports Wayland, so it doesn't need anything else. But all the other DEs or window managers might not have full support for Wayland. So what Lubuntu has decided to do is that they're going to use OpenBox and make it work with Mir. So you might be going, what, Mir? What do you mean? Well, Mir is the former display server from Canonical, but they when they announced that they were going to not continue Unity and they were going to switch to GNOME, they didn't discontinue Mir. In fact, they actually kind of like changed what Mir is. So Mir is now becoming a compositor for Wayland. So it's more like a universal solution that other DEs could utilize as a compositor for Wayland. So it allows, like, for example, OpenBox or something else to, like Mate and LXQt, to have Wayland support without having to like build it themselves in the DE. They can use Mir to accomplish that. And that is a really cool concept, because having all these different, like, it kind of would create a fragmentation issue if all these different desktop environments had their own compositing solution, and then there'd be like a potential for breakpoints of different applications depending on what compositor is there. So it's a really cool idea that if they're using one that's more like a universal solution. So I look forward to that. Now, you might be wondering, what about, is Wayland ready to go? Right now, the answer is no, definitely not. I mean, some people have hardware that can make it work fine. Like if you have an AMD processor, an AMD graphics card, you're fine, you're good to go. It'll probably work for the most part. Now, not everything, because there's still a little bit of things that are not ready yet. But overall, it's mostly really for those types of hardware. But if you use an NVIDIA graphics card, no. It's not really even close. But it's potential by the time that this release of 2020 or 2010 comes out, that it could be ready at that time to utilize Wayland. So they're kind of like saying this is what our plans to do are. They're not really saying that this is like a set in stone type thing, but in the future, I guess maybe it could change depending on what happens with Mir and Wayland. So it's just interesting to see what happens, and I think it's really cool that they're letting you know that they're going to be doing this, and maybe because it potentially might get other DEs and other distros to say, hey, we'll check out this Mir thing because maybe it's a solution for the compositor on Wayland. So anyway, if you'd like to learn more, you can check out the link in the show notes below. All right, next one. Been forced to keep a copy of Windows for gaming for years. This might be allowing a way to finally get away with it, or away from it. Nice. Proton to think about the software that can be ported over, such as productivity software. Yeah, I mean the gaming is important, but the fact that you could have other software work with it is really good. Because Proton is also not required to use Steam. You could build it yourself if you want as a developer. Found an unofficial list for the Steam forums. There will be a link to the spreadsheet in my show notes, but they're not ready yet. I'm working on making that in the future episode. I'm going to try to get it possible to have that ready before the stream goes, but right now it's not. Working on it. X11 will file flat packs to bypass a lot of security, such as keylog any. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I know. But the issue is asking people who are not aware what that even means. I want to see. I haven't seen a way that they've implemented that. I want to see how they implemented it, see how it works, because it could be problematic for sure. Fail to see the benefits of Wayland while improving some graphics stacks lately with X11. Well, the issue is not. It's more of a future-proof thing because Wayland X is very old and very clunky, and it has a lot of security issues and stuff like that. So Wayland is a better solution, and it will be better in the future whenever that happens. But I don't know how much. My power just flickered right there. If you saw that. I love being on Team Red. I can boot into Wayland session, no problems. Yeah. The way I'm looking into when I build a new computer, I'm totally going to get AMD. Thanks for coming to the stream, Brennan, and for that super chat. Awesome. Welcome. Farron, can you maybe pop a request through Katie to improve their documentation of configuring Katie default settings? Yeah, not really. They don't have very good documentation. That's true. And every time I've suggested something about their documentation, they'll tell me to fix it. So I don't think it might be a lost cause, or it might be just wait until someone decides to do it. Wayland will be lighter and faster than X11. Anselm's asking on Twitch. Yes, it will. It also doesn't have everything included because it's not really a full server, or it's more of a protocol. But it's not. It currently doesn't have all the features that X11 has, so it is going to be faster and lighter because it doesn't have everything. But their goal is to eventually have feature parity, but at the same time have better security and be more efficient. When that happens, I don't know. Yes, Fair and I agree that the defaults for Plasma to configure those is kind of confusing and annoying because there's different configs for various different things, and they're also located in different places and stuff like that. So it is kind of weird. No, Farron, see, that's different because the whole issue of them picking a DE, they can choose to, fix things. Like right now, if you look at what GNOME has, they have to fix a lot of GNOME's things. This is documentation. They could fix it. It's not a big deal. And in collaborating with them, they could change a lot of things and fix a lot of things. And the whole point is that Plasma is more open to allowing people to contribute and change things for their own purposes and stuff. So they would totally be open to documentation edits and stuff like that. Whereas GNOME doesn't have high DPI support at all, and the people who are making that is Canonical. So not only do they have fix an entire fundamental piece of the DE, or fix documentation. There's a big difference when people it's difficult for KDE default stuff. It's like, yeah, sure, but having to rebuild the display of something, and that's just one of the things they're doing. The whole desktop icons thing and the system tray thing, and the whole they have previously in Unity they had to keep an old version of Nautilus and maintain that version because GNOME was removing features that they wanted to keep. And now that they've decided to go to GNOME, they have to maintain an old version of Nautilus because they keep taking features out that they want to keep. So there's that. Subscriber. I like that. The name of the account, Subscriber. My own config file for the folder view settings just to change those defaults. It's like, yeah, there's issues there. I don't get the new direction of Ubuntu in general. If you want to target 10-year-old PCs, you come in the waters of Kitty, so also light enough to run those. Hank, that's not the goal. They're not targeting 10-year-old computers. Plasma isn't either. So, Ubuntu's target is essentially people who want a efficient desktop environment on modern hardware. But modern hardware, even 10-year-old computers, is modern now. You're looking at mostly 64-bit machines. You're looking at at least 2 gigs of RAM, stuff like that. So 10-year-old computers at this point is still pretty powerful machines. So the whole ancient hardware debate of 32-bit and 64-bit is not going to last very long. So it's kind of it's inevitable, really. And I think that LXQt is a good desktop environment, and I think it has a lot of potential. I don't know if it's ready fully yet, but it should be pretty soon. There's a lot of things it does do that are fantastic, so who knows. Is Desktop Slideshow made by KDE? I don't know. I've never used the slideshow feature really, so I don't know who makes that. The new stance to me was very much in eliminating the light of aspect of it as they want to go, plus which then puts them together against limited IDEs. They can do more. Hank, so the light aspects of Ubuntu, I've always been there, and right now it's an extreme lightness through old technology. They're updating it for their technology, but they're still going to be light. They're just not focused on the lightest ever, the lightest possibility. They're focused on trying to get the being very light while also being a modern desktop environment and providing like the benefits of using modern hardware and modern technologies as far as like software and stuff to go. So you're like, you could argue, what's the point of LXQt? What's the point of Mate? What's the point of XFCE or Plasma or GNOME or whatever, or Cinnamon or Budgie? Why do we have so many things? Well, why not? Essentially. But it's also because people want to make, their own custom style and other custom implementations of things. So Lubuntu wants to use LXQt. That's great. Feel free. Games and a lot of stuff is at least 5 years behind hardware. Software still isn't using all cores. Yeah, Anselm, I agree, but 32-bit, you don't need to create 32-bit systems in order to have 32-bit software, for example. So that's why if you wanted to use 32-bit games in a 64-bit machine, you can. You just install the 32-bit dependencies. But having a 32-bit ISO is pretty much unnecessary these days, except for like super ancient hardware. Welcome to the stream, Mim. And I think like Qt is a fantastic toolkit. So having another Qt-based DE is fantastic because it gives you options to like, what you can and can't do. Because like, for example, GTK, you're limited in a lot of ways. And now having more DEs using Qt is actually quite good. Then set the BG lock screen to slideshow and then change every 10 seconds. That's interesting, Farron, about the slideshow thing. Welcome to the stream, Silent. Just to me that Ubuntu is always the absolute lightest of them all. Now they don't have a selling point for me over XFCE, for example. Well, XFCE is getting heavier, and it will be much heavier the next release, guaranteed. How much heavier, I don't know, but it will be guaranteed to be much more heavier than it currently is. And LXQt will also be heavier for Ubuntu, but not an extreme amount. So it's still going to be pretty much one of the lightest, especially when XFCE gets their new version, because the 4.14 is guaranteed to be much heavier because they're going from GTK2 to GTK3 because they have to, because GTK2 is deprecated and no one works on it and it's unmaintained, and anytime there's a security issue that you have to update. So the fact that they're going to GTK3 means they have to use all the weight that GTK3 brings. And the LXDE team decided to, instead of trying to make GTK3 work with their code base, they just said, screw it, we'll just use Qt. And that's where LXQt came from. .2004 is probably going to alienate a lot of Ubuntu users. Unless Wayland gets a lot better in 2 years' time. Well, technically, Wayland won't be coming until 2010, not 2004. So the first LTS that will have Wayland will be 2204. My dad has some PCs 32-bit. Yeah, I mean, I think I have one computer that's still 32-bit, but I don't use it. If you want to know what Windows goals are, listen to last week's Biddle. Someone's on talked about it a lot. Yeah, that's a good option. LXQt is collaboration with the former Razor Qt project, wasn't it? Yes, JP. LXQt is a combination of LXDE team and Razer Qt team. The Razer Qt team is really cool that they joined because Razer Qt was a innovative solution, and then the LXDE team decided they wanted to do what Razer Qt was going to do or was doing, and they just merged, and that's awesome. Hey, look, he's still streaming. It's only been an hour. Dark one. I mean, I got at least 4 more. Farron, 2004 is not going to be a Wayland release. 2010 is going to be a Wayland release. So the first LTS will be 22.04. That is an absolute guarantee. Only 4 you're undercutting yourself. Nice. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. And the troll enters. Nice. All right, next topic. I'm going to do 3 since I've spent a lot of time in between, about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to try to do 3 back-to-back and see how that works. Yeah, experiments. Let's do it. Up next in the show is the Linux Mint Debian Edition release for LMDE3 or Cindy for the code name. And if you haven't heard about it, so Linux Mint has a Ubuntu-based version and also a Debian-based version. The Debian-based version has a couple months or so after the initial release of the Ubuntu-based version, and the Ubuntu-based version was just released about 2 months ago. And now they're having most of the work that we were doing for the previous version of Cinnamon and things like that being added to the Debian release. And this release has a lot of updates to the core of Debian and a lot of updates to Cinnamon. But we've already talked about the new features of Cinnamon and things like that. So I'll have a link to the previous episode of the show where it has that information if you'd like to learn more about that. But if you haven't, this kind of thing is interesting because I wanted to talk about the fact that they have this and kind of like the mixed messaging and like why do they have this kind of thing? Because most of the effort they put into it is Ubuntu, is the Ubuntu-based version for Linux Mint. And when I was looking on the news and updates for this particular release, they said like it has the site has a statement that basically says its main goal is for the Linux Mint team to see how viable their distribution would be and how much work it would be necessary if Ubuntu was ever to disappear. So this LMDE version aims to be as similar as possible to Linux Mint with Ubuntu, but just without Ubuntu and using Debian instead. Now, the reason why that's confusing is because, or to me anyway, is because this LMDE has been around for like 7 years, and it should have had enough time to figure out if it's viable or not, and how much work it is. So I'm just kind of curious, like, why do they still have it, or why have they not changed like their reasoning for it? And it's just an interesting topic. I just wanted to put out there and see if there's any kind of feedback from either the Linux Mint team or the contributors to it, or just community in general. So let me know in the comments below what your opinion is about that. Next up in the show is Kali Linux 2018.3 was released. If you're not aware, Kali Linux is a pen testing distribution for ethical hackers. It allows you to test different networking systems and do penetration testing to see if you can break through a particular system. It is definitely not recommended to be utilizing this without permission of that network because that would be illegal. So if you were going to do this, if you wanted to try it out, test it on your own network or with permission of people you'd be testing for. Anyway, one of the cool things about this new version, well, probably the coolest thing about this new version, is the addition of a pen testing tool for iOS. So you can actually start doing some, researching for the iOS mobile platform, doing pen testing and bug hunting and things like that for different, tools and utilization of seeing if you could potentially crack through the iOS platform. Another cool feature that they added is the probably going to mispronounce this thing, but I'm going to try Kerberos tool for the Kerberos network assessment stuff. And they've also added features for Kerberos to support the Datasploit framework. So, and there's also a few, bug fixes and other enhancements for this particular release. And I just thought it was pretty cool for the iOS thing because that's an interesting addition to the distribution. So if you're interested in checking that out, be sure to check out Kali Linux 2018.3. And to note, if you do decide to use Kali Linux, it is not meant to be a daily driver. So don't use it for a daily driver. It is meant to be a pen testing tool, and then that is a companion to your daily driver system from another different distribution. If you are currently using Kali as your daily driver, look into switching that up a little bit, because I've heard a lot of people who do that, and there's a Q&A page on Kali Linux that says you probably shouldn't do that. So just so you know. Also, this week, another distro release news is Bodhi Linux 5.0 is released. This is a new version of Bodhi Linux that is based on Ubuntu 18.04 instead of the previous 16.04 version. So this is a really interesting distribution because it has their custom desktop environment called Moksha, which is a fork of it's a fork of Enlightenment. Actually, Enlightenment version 17. They forked at that point. So if you are a fan of Enlightenment but you don't like the newest versions of like 22 and stuff like that, then Moksha would be a good option for that. And it's a very lightweight desktop environment and is kind of designed to be like for older hardware, but at the same time still be modern enough. And then also Bodhi Linux 5.0 has enhancements to their network stack and a whole new look based on the Arc Dark theme for GTK structure. But they have changed it a little bit. They've added the Bodhi Linux green color scheme to it, so it's not just like the default Arc Dark. They've also done some new login and boot splash screens that have like totally customized that part, so they're going to do more of like a polished update as well. So if you're interested in checking out the Moksha desktop or just Enlightenment, like a Enlightenment style desktop, and you want to use an Ubuntu based system, you should definitely give it a chance and check out Bodhi Linux 5.0. There was a little bit of a lag between I wasn't ready to switch between Kali and Cinnamon, or Ubuntu or LMDE to Kali. I wasn't actually prepared to switch there, so there was a little bit of a delay. So I'm gonna have to edit that anyway. But hey, I think it went pretty well. Let's see, back to the chat, because I feel like I'm kind of like ignoring the chat, even though I'm not trying to. So, do you think that I'm ignoring the chat? I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm just imagining that. Yeah, Ansem says, yeah, 32-bit needs to go bye-bye. I agree. Limpy doesn't want their first relay then release to be an LTS. Totally. That's why they're doing 2010. Farron. There's still no driver manager, etc. in LMDE, so there's still a few things for them to just do just yet. Yeah, or not continue making it. Personally, really a fan of Parrot OS for pen testing. I have heard many good things about that, Hank. I haven't tried it myself yet, so I can't really give an opinion, but I have heard quite a few things that are really good about them. is the main OS in the Linux format magazine on this Linux same one which nice. I'll check out that review, Farron, too. If you're gonna go ahead and link that. Thanks for coming to the stream, Bunny. Have a good one. Is it me or did you say Cobra Roast? I meant to say Kerber Roast, but it is that. I mean, it is roast. Yes, that is the name of it. Das Geek Green, maybe. It's more of a darker, like a olive, but yes, you might still be interested in checking that out, Das Geek. That went well, I think. With a bit more practice, you'll be able to do the whole show in one take. I don't know if I want to do the whole show in one take because I want to do I still want to have this interaction with the chat. I don't want to just like go straight to the next one because I don't do the whole thing because I still like the chat interaction. And I think if I did the whole thing, there'd be potential conversation that would be missed that I wouldn't be able to pay attention to the chat as much. So I don't really want to do that, but I do want to do like more instead of every single topic, because not everybody cares about each topic. For example, not everybody cares about Steam. Not everybody cares about, latest versions of mobile operating system stuff. You know, that kind of thing. So having two topics back to back and then having a conversation about both of them, I think works better in the sense of like, not only just editing, but, still in keeping the engagement there. Because I don't want to lose the engagement between the chat and the show and me and everything. Not ignoring, mostly just not noticing as you're doing the recordings. Yeah, but I don't want to make it seem like I guess I'm trying to look at like a balance between doing the recordings and not, skipping the chat stuff. I recommend the 32-bit version because 32-bit wine dependencies are not included in the 64-bit version. Oh, okay. That's interesting, Hank. They should totally fix that, but that's interesting. Yeah, because if I did the show all in one, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I like to have that separate because I still want to keep the conversations of the chat and everything. So that's why I want to keep them, like keep doing breaks, but maybe combine a couple here and there. Like for example, those were I had 3 different distro news, so doing all of them back to back kind of makes sense. And the next 2 I can do back to back. So that should work. I don't get this Linux format disk. Kali Linux and Farron OS are 64-bit OS on there, but Bunsen Labs is x32. I haven't tried Bunsen Labs in a very long time, so I think it was 32-bit when I tried it after Crunchbang died. After Crunchbang died is when I tried it out. So I don't know if it was 64-bit at the time or not. Anyway, could be. I could be imagining it not having that. Do they not have a 64-bit at all? Because that seems odd. Okay. Next topic. Definitely 64-bit. Okay, good. That's what I thought. I thought they had it by now. I think they had it during the Crunch Bang days too. I'm not sure. So anyway, next topic. Up next in the show is some unfortunate news, and that is T-Mobile and AT&T had some data breaches. The first one is a data breach between. They basically had the same kind of problem with AT&T and T-Mobile having the PIN codes of customers being vulnerable to attack. So, if you think that maybe I guess T-Mobile and AT&T were feeling left out of all the data breach information this year, so they want to let's join in that. Yeah. So anyway, there's a not so bad. It's not terrible because the PIN stuff is, you could change your PIN. It's not that big a deal. Unfortunately, T-Mobile got hacked a little bit more, and they lost 2 million customers' personal data. Now there's a little bit of a silver lining to it, but not much of one. So the customer's name, the billing zip code, phone numbers, email address, account numbers, account type, which is prepaid or postpaid, all of that was included in these 2 million customers' data stolen hack. So, yeah. The silver lining is that the credit card numbers weren't included, but that's about it. So, still pretty bad. You might want to, I don't know what you could do about this, honestly. Like, change your email address, I guess, but there are all the rest of the stuff. It's very hard to change. So, just letting you know that happened. So, moving on to something that's actually good, and that is KDE Plasma available on the Pinebook, which is an ARM-based laptop. Now, this is pretty cool because the Pinebook is a pretty, not a super high-end computer, and Plasma being working on it is really cool because it means that Plasma's working on pretty good on ARM, and that's a fantastic thing. And if you haven't heard of the Pinebook is really cool because it's a 2 gig RAM, 14-inch display laptop that has a quad-core 64-bit ARM processor. Now, what's probably the best thing about it is that it's only $100 to get this laptop. So that is very cool. What's not so cool is that you're going to have to wait. You have to pay for the product and then wait because they don't do it like you can't just buy it and it ships it because they do it in a bulk manufacturing process. So they have to have a certain amount of people who have purchased it before they can get the price down low enough to make that $100 possible. So once they reach that point, then they go through the process of manufacturing it all and then shipping it out to the customers. So there might be I don't know how long the waiting period would be, but it's not. There's really no estimate you could possibly do. So, but it's still pretty cool because it's like only $100, and you get a pretty cool, fairly powerful laptop for just $100. And with it being ARM, the battery life should be crazy. And now you could use Plasma on that Pinebook. So that's pretty cool. If you already have a Pinebook, you could actually go to the show notes and get the link for the Blue Systems Pinebook remix thing, and you can go ahead and download the ISO for it and try it out on your already existing Pinebook. And then there's also potential that they're going to make it work for other ARM devices. Not really sure exactly any kind of time frame for that, but if you already have a Pinebook, you can definitely try it out now. So you can find a link in the show notes. I'm actually getting more comfortable doing the back-to-back thing. And it's only been like a couple, topics so far. A couple attempts. Getting more, definitely 64. Yep, nice. Time to password information again. Yep. Thanks, T-Mobile. Exactly. They did slap a scrapped logo design that never made it to Farron OS. Interesting. Let's see. Have KE Plasma on a Core 2 Duo with 2 gigs of RAM, but the 2 gigs are a bit low, but not really usable. Yeah, the recommended minimum for Plasma is 2 gigs. So if you have more than that, you have a much better experience. But 2 gigs, it's usable, but it's not like the best experience. But it's still great because you can put it on, you know, old hardware or, you know, low end hardware. But honestly, if I wouldn't put it, like I'd want to have at least 4, because I don't think it's bloated. I just think that the benefits are, you know, more obvious with the 4 gigs. To be fair, and reviewers aren't going to delve into OSs just to find a logo. That's true. Although I read that wrong, but hey, it's the same thing. Thanks for coming to the stream, Yannick. Sorry that it was so late for you. In the future, it will be more European-friendly timing. I think the Pioneer is also available with smaller IPS display for the same cost. Oh. Red Robo, if it's an IPS with like 11 inches, I'd be more interested in that, really. Silent, that's a good Silent Reboot. Silent Robot. I always looked at your name as Reboot. Silent Reboot for some reason. I'm sorry. It's Silent Robot, and that's a good point. You should have like Farron. You should have a press page for that. Or you said you need to update it. Yeah. The 11 inches only available is the only option currently available. What do you mean, DOS? Is the 14 not available at all? It was Reboot. Oh. Okay. I'm not imagining it. Okay, good. The confusion is real. Thanks. He's trying to mess with me, I guess. Know anyone rocking Arch Linux ARM to test KDE Plasma on the Pinebook? David, I do know someone who works with Arch Linux ARM. I don't know if they have a Pinebook. I'll ask him about it. European friendly time is good. Then I'll be able to watch this. I do not have holidays. When I do not have holidays. Okay. So in the future, the next episode will be coming up this coming Saturday, which would be the number 8. Yeah, Saturday the 8th will be the next episode. It will be sooner in the day. It will be on a Saturday, so there won't be people who are having to go to work the next day. That is the goal, to have midday for me, so it's good enough time-wise for Europeans as well. That's my goal. We'll see what happens, because it didn't happen this time. But we'll see what happens next time, and that's that's what my goal is. Thanks for coming to stream, Farron. Have a good one. Parts are really hard to get for the 14-inch Pinebook if something breaks. Oh, that's good to know, Pete. Thank you. Not messing with it anymore. You have a pop filter. That was my goal. Thank you. I'm glad that I have been able to meet your goals for you. Or help you meet that goal, I guess, is what I meant to say. Remember, the single Chrome window is typically 2 to 3 times the RAM footprint of Plasma. That's a good point. Just use Firefox, though. Problem solved. It was, but they must be out of stock right now. Oh, okay. All right. Next topic. Well, next batch of topics. We have, I think I'll do these 3 next back to back. Because why not? Why not is because, you know, might not be able to do it. That's why, but yeah, whatever. Next goal, get a new mic. Yes, that is the next goal. Firefox is not as heavy. This stream is around 2 gigs of browser RAM usage with Plasma being only 450. That stream shouldn't be that bad. I mean, not the stream anyway. The browser itself, maybe. We started a fund for that. Yeah. There is a fund, Dark One, actually. Earlier in the stream, there was a super chat fund to get me a new mic. So that has started. Which I will get a new mic, you know, the moment I can afford to. That will happen. Right now I have a 14-inch Pinebook with a broken screen and no idea when I can get a new one, and they won't respond to my inquiries, and they have been out of stock for months. That is bad. Yeah, that's bad, Pete. I will install Arch on my main PC in the next 2 weeks, but I'm unsure whether to use KDE or GNOME. I really like both. 16 GB RAM, that's not a problem. Any ideas? Okay, the solution is Plasma. The question is, what DE would you like to use? The answer is always Plasma. Or Mate. Or LXQt. Or Budgie. Maybe Cinnamon. Or XFCE when 4.14 comes out. I guess you could do XFCE now if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm not very helpful in this if I'm just continually giving you more options. But I would prefer Plasma, personally. However, with that said, I would prefer Plasma, but not the defaults of Plasma. The majority of the defaults are not very good. So when I say Plasma, the fact that you're going to be trying Arch, you should know that you should customize some stuff in Plasma before it becomes like reasonably good. So, for example, the defaults are annoying in many cases and need to be changed. Kubuntu has changed those. So if someone was like the first time they ever used Plasma, Kubuntu would be that choice. Plasma itself, KDE doesn't want to change a lot of things for some reason, so just keep that in mind. Budgie doesn't get any updates and use GNOME technologies. That's true, Bajorn. They're going to be changing to Qt at some point, but you know. Yeah, Wendy, like single click by default. And I did a one video back a while back where it was like 5 different things that I just can't stand about the defaults for Plasma. And Kubuntu listened to all 5 of them. And a couple others that I did, you know, because I sent them directly some more. So I think like the best experience, the best defaults to try, the first time you ever tried Plasma, Kubuntu is the best for that. So I would suggest people do that, because when someone tries the default vanilla Plasma and they can't stand the defaults, then they never get to the point where they see the power of Plasma and the benefits of it. And that's the kind of the reason why I wanted to help change those defaults. And Kubuntu apparently is the only people who are listening to change them. Darkwing, I did not say that. I'm not denying that either, but I didn't say it. I have less to do at startup with Kubuntu than Neon with settings. Yeah, exactly. That was my goal, to fix those. And Neon could fix them, but they're not going to because they're not vanilla. Like they're shipping whatever vanilla Plasma is, and for some reason, Plasma doesn't want to change these things because reasons. Every time I ask them to change something, they're like, "Well, we've always had this." So that doesn't mean you keep it. If it's not good, you don't keep it. If there's a better solution, you change it. And they're like, well, but that's what we have. What? Red Robbo, that is a very nice offer. I appreciate that. I might already have a solution for the mic, so I wouldn't want you to send me one for like that. But the shock mount's a good idea. I forgot about shock mounts because I kind of hit the microphone a lot, don't I? Or I hit the mic arm enough where a shock mount would be a good idea. So I'm going to have to get a fund for the shock mount too. Another distro to try on a Pinebook is Netrunner. It is the first distro with hardware acceleration. It's the first distro with hardware acceleration for ARM? Is that what you mean? The only thing I want from KDE is to make their volume widget able to switch audio sources from the pop-up instead of having to go to the settings app. You can do that. The widget and the system tray can do that. Not as easily, but it is possible. Fairly sure it is. Yeah, you can do that. There's a hamburger menu attached to each application and also each device, so you can make changes there. So if you go to the application and click the hamburger menu on the top right of that particular application, it will give you the ability to change it there. However, that is for KDE Plasma 5.12 and 5.13, so I don't know if that's just those or not. Shock mount fund initiated. Thank you very much, Silent. I appreciate that. For the Pinebook, the default OS shipped on the Pinebook doesn't have hardware acceleration. Oh, that's weird, Pete. They should totally fix that. Disciple. Yeah, that's a good point. It's kind of like saying, I have a rare disease that's curable, but I don't want to fix it because I've had it for long enough. I'm used to it. And it's kind of what they're doing. That's funny. Unfortunate. Kind of true. But Robbo, send me a message in Telegram if you'd like to talk about the shock mount thingy. If you can change one KDE aspect, it will be published to all users tomorrow as the new default. What would you pick? Oh, no. I don't want to change anything that people already have if they've customized it themselves. What I would like to change is the default offering to new users. So that would be, I would change single click to double click to open applications and to open files in Dolphin and on the desktop and stuff like that. That would be the fundamental first thing I would change in Plasma for new users. I mean, if it's published the new version as the default. Okay, then it would be the single click to double click. If someone likes single click, they should totally keep it. But the new users, it should absolutely be the double click instead of single. Because it's ridiculous to have single for potential millions of people who will hate it. I know, but hey, we've had it for a decade, and it's always been a problem. Hank, I don't have automatic opening of applications, unless I tell it to with the system, like startup stuff. Yeah, Paul, I agree that there are some people who do like single click. And in some cases, I like single click. Sometimes I don't. But it should not be the default regardless. So, yeah. I mean, we agree with that part. Solus Plasma salutes Kubuntu. All right. Welcome to the stream, Richard. Tried Telegram through telepathy on KDE on my March system, but put my phone number in. It did nothing. I went with the term and looked at it. No profile created. When I edit, no profile found. I actually haven't tried to create an account without using the phone version because I don't know. I just used it with the phone and then started using the desktop version. I turned it off myself, but the default is to reopen everything from the last session. Oh, that's weird. That's not a good idea. I'd have to look at like what distro is providing that default, because I haven't seen that before. But I also haven't installed a new version of a new operating system that had Plasma shipped, except for Kubuntu, and I already know what they were doing. So, and I've had this particular install for 2.5 years now. So whatever the defaults were, I don't remember where they were, except for the ones that were awful, like the single click thing. Anyway, I got sidetracked by a lot. That was about 15 minutes there. So let's go ahead and go to the next topic because I forgot that I was doing a show. Up next in the show is some application news with a new open source music player called Strawberry. And if you haven't heard of it, Strawberry may look familiar for people who have used Clementine, because Strawberry is a fork of Clementine. And their purpose of making this fork is to focus on high-quality local music playback. So, for example, Clementine doesn't have support for external DACs. So they wanted to improve Clementine by adding that particular support, as well as focusing heavily on local library of music. So with that, they decided to remove the internet features. So Clementine has a few internet solutions like Spotify and things like that, and SoundCloud. I don't know if it has full Spotify support, but I know it has some of it. But it's kind of clunky issues in some of the internet services. So, Strawberry decided that they wanted to change that and just focus on local media. Now, personally, I actually prefer to listen to my music locally and not through a streaming service, because most of the time the streaming services have random ads all the time. Like every 6 songs, or every 4 to 6 songs, there's an ad that kind of ruins the experience. So I like to throw up some music, listen to the music while I'm editing or while I'm programming and stuff like that. So it's just like, get in the groove sort of thing. I don't know. Anyway. So I like the local version, the local approach better. So I'm definitely interested in checking it out. So if you are as well, you can find a link to Strawberry in the show notes. Now, also, this week, we had some news for Trillium Notes. This is pretty much a brand new notes-taking app, and they have a lot of cool features and a lot of interesting ideas. If you've ever heard of Simple Note, you'll notice that the UI is kind of similar. Not exactly, but fairly similar. But it is an open-source, self-hosted note-taking app. And it's a really cool concept because they have a lot of custom features that make it fairly powerful. So, for example, they have this thing called code notes. And the code notes allow you to add code to an individual note and have that code be executed inside of Trillium. So you can kind of create mini applications inside of Trillium itself to work with your notes. Really cool concept. So the other thing that they have is the ability to have different implementations of the note system to add extra features through this code note system. So for example, you could go to look at their demos on their GitHub, and you'll be able to find that they have a weight tracker system, a family tree, a note system, a task manager, and even an ability to have a script that will automatically import your Reddit comments into like daily note storage. So I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but the fact that you can is pretty cool. So it's an interesting idea so that you can have Trillium be kind of like an automated system as well as a special custom system depending on what types of notes you want to do. Very cool. Now they store everything in a database, an SQLite database or SQLite database. So you might not be able to have like syncing through, something like Nextcloud or anything like that. They have their own custom syncing structure that you'd have to try out. You have to use. So you might. I'm not sure if you may or may not like that, and you may or may not like that it's Electron based. So, but it is cool, and they have a lot of benefits to being Electron in the sense that it works like cross-platform and things like that. But they also they did a Q&A on the r/Linux subreddit, and there was a few questions that I wanted to bring up. They were asked about their claim about performance and usability. So it says that on their website, or their GitHub says that they have scalability and for usability and performance of up to 100,000 nodes. And one of the questions was, how does that make any sense if you have an Electron app and you have scalability and performance? That seems kind of like contradictory. But his point was that whether you have 100 nodes or whether you have 100,000 nodes, the performance will stay basically the same. So it's kind of like it'll scale within itself. So if you're looking for the lightest note-taking app, that's not this. But if you're looking for an incredibly powerful note-taking app that has a lot of cool, innovative ideas like the code note system, then you should definitely check it out. And I definitely have a plan to do that because this looks pretty cool. Another thing that they were asked if it had Markdown support, and instead they said no, it's a WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get type of editor. And I think that's a fair point, because a lot of times in order to have a Markdown editor, most of the time they have like an editing window and then another window next to it that is the preview window of what it would look like. And that's kind of awkward to some people, and I totally understand that. So the WYSIWYG approach is probably a better solution for note-taking apps like this. So anyway, if you'd like to learn more about this particular application, you can find a link in the show notes for Trillium Notes. Also, this week, let's talk about running Windows 95 in an Electron app, because you can, I guess. That's pretty much the only reason that this would exist, but it does exist. So if you're interested in trying it, there's a link in the show notes. But it seems like a novelty, and it totally isn't. Never mind. Not that it seems like it totally is a novelty thing, but it does actually support running other applications inside of this Windows Electron app thing. You could even run an old version of like the original version of Doom and play that inside of this particular Electron app. I'm not sure why you would want to or anything, but hey, it could be like a nostalgia history thing, learning where we used to be as far as like desktop operating systems. And I'm trying to figure out a reason why this exists, and for the fun of it, I guess. Anyway, if you wanted to check it out, there's a link in the show notes. That is it for that section. There are 2 more topics. All right. Clementine is a fork of Amarok 1.4. Now Clementine is forked. That's true. Amarok newest version is not very good. I think 1.4 was better, and I hope that Strawberry updates the UI because I don't really like the Clementine UI. I think it's kind of ugly. So hopefully they update that. Let's go, hold on, do switching before I go back to the chat so I can get that off there. I don't look at that anymore. All right. Plasma opens last used applications by default. Bjorn. Like what distro? Because I've never seen that happen. Prefer to listen locally too, so Quad Labette, FTW. I agree, Paul. I've been a fan of Quad Labette for a while. It's also fun to say. Quad Labette. I've kind of switched away because Quad Labette's GTK, so I use something else. But it's still a good music player. What is the best video streaming app other than Kodi? Well, Kodi's not really a streaming app anyway. It's more of a player, and it doesn't provide. It's not like a server-based thing. So I think Kodi's a fantastic streaming center, like media center. But it depends on like if you want a server or do you want just a player and things like that. I may not like that it is Electron-based, correct. I mean, I'm okay with Electron. I don't actually care about Electron at all. Some people do, I don't. As long as the application, it provides a service, what it claims to do, and it works well, and it solves a problem for me, I don't really care what it's made in. I mean, there's a level I do care in some cases. Like, for example, a file manager that is Electron that's supposed to be like fundamental core pieces of a system, no. A terminal Electron app, no. That's ridiculous, no. But most things, I don't really care. Welcome to the stream, Conseco. Great to see this fork. Last time Clementine version was 2016. That's true. Clementine actually hasn't been updated in a very long time. I forgot about that part. I used to think Windows 95 looked awesome. Yep. First key I used was 2.2.2.2. That's old. Super old. 1.1.1. The one that came with SUSE 6.3. That's super old too. I don't think I ever used Plasma back then. I think I used GNOME 2 and GNOME 1 and XFCE at that time. I think I didn't really give Plasma a chance for, well, relatively recent, to be honest. Like I used it in the 3.4, 3.5 days. And I liked it, but it also like looked like XP, so I didn't like it really. So I liked the fact that GNOME was different, so that's why I went with it instead of trying to fix it. Which is also why Plasma should fix their defaults, because some people just don't care to fix it themselves. Anyway, any OS at the time except Amiga OS. Yeah. Going to try Solus, KDE. Let me know what you think, Andy. I'm curious about that. Browser-based images, QEMU. Oh yeah, that's cool. It's very slowly. 64 megs of RAM. What? What has 64? That's a small amount of RAM. Clementine interface was great when it first came out. I do agree they need to update the interface. Yeah, it was good then. Thanks for coming to the stream, Silent Robot. Hopefully you're still here to hear me, read that. Eliza, I don't know, has the best UI so far that relates to Plasma as far as music. I think Elisa looks great. I think Babe also has a lot of potential. Neither one of them are really ready to go exactly yet, but hopefully it gets better. Vanilla Plasma opens application for computer system. What? I need to test that, because I've never seen that happen before, and I've been using it for years. Arch has almost completely vanilla packages. Yeah, but they could change a flag thing and it still be vanilla. I'm curious. I might load that up. See why that happens. Quite a little bit is excellent. Looking for something cute. Elisa is great. Red Robbo. This strawberry thing's cute based, so you could check that out if you like to. Just saying. Callbacks and stuff. But yeah, at least it looks great. If I shut my arch system down on my test system, my K-sys monitor is still open. It ends up opening it again itself. Maybe I just manually delete or not, like close everything and never notice it because I just close it all before I turn my computer off. I don't think so. I don't think I do that. I'd have to check that. I'm gonna have to do some testing to see if that's something I just never noticed or not, because that could be I just never noticed it. First time I used Plasma was Plasma 4, and I hated it because how heavy it was. Plasma 4 actually wasn't that heavy. It's just people think it is, but it isn't, because they look at like the comparison between what they have by default in Plasma versus what they had by default or what they eventually had in GNOME, because the best thing about Plasma is that it pretty much just stays where it starts, whereas other DEs start small and then get bigger and bigger and bigger. Gonna call it a day. 10:30. Have work in the morning. Thanks for coming to the stream, Paul, and best of luck for that. And next week it will be on a Saturday, and it will be on time. Probably, maybe, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, Plasma 4 was still a lot lighter than people thought it is, or think it is. However, it was hideous. It was also super, super hideous. So there's that. The world will end. It was kind of funny because when I first used Plasma, when I first gave Plasma a real chance was during the 4 days. And because I tried it previously, but I never cared enough to give it a full chance. But I did it with 4, and I did it because a friend of mine convinced me to try it. And he convinced me by telling me like some of the features it had. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess I'll try to get past the horrid, ugly, hideous design that they have. And then I decided I like it. It's fantastic. Then Plasma 5 announces the new version. It's like, hey, the first time ever that KDE looked good. Fantastic. Although it still needs work because the super bright everything is not a good idea. But it's still way better than that Oxygen crap and the XP-like crap of the 3 days. Ubuntu dropping Unity pushed me into the terms of Plasma. Nice, Andy. Yeah, they should have totally just used Plasma instead of GNOME. I think there's a video somewhere about that. It should be definitely easy to change the wallpaper. It starts like 15 minutes or so. You right-click the desktop, and it says Configure Desktop. And that's where you change the wallpaper. So I'm curious where you expected it to be. Didn't try it newer than Plasma 512, and I'm loving the one that's so far, except for occasional X11 crashes when I start games. A video about a bunch of Unity Plasma stepping them is how I found your channel. Nice. Yeah, that's a pretty popular video. So a lot of people have said that that's how they got to it. I tried it with the image right click in the gallery, the file manager. Oh, okay. Yeah, they don't have a right click in the file manager. Set as wallpaper would be a really good option, and they should have that, but yeah, they don't have that. They just have the right-click desktop thing. Dirty's Dark is by far the best dark theme, in my opinion. Very, very few get this right. I agree, Red Robo. It is one of the best dark themes, period. But I would prefer the default to be a combination like Kubuntu does, which is also why Kubuntu has it, because that's what I suggest they do. I'm not saying that I was like instrumental to making the latest version of Kubuntu, but I'm saying they did do a lot of things that I suggested, which was awesome because as soon as they took one of the things that I suggested, I gave them like 20 more. So shouldn't have killed Unity. Mirror's not dead, Richard, but I think Unity was a fantastic DE, and it is a shame that it's gone. Well, for the most part, it's gone. There's still people who are trying to keep it going, kind of thing, but it's gone for now, anyway. The bright white burns your eyes if you install or turn a machine on at night. Yeah, it's weird the fact that that's there. Like, I don't know why they did that. I understand why they have it, but why it's default, I don't get that. Arch and Solar is the only distros that install properly on my Apollo-based CPU. So I appreciate the Plasma work. Interesting. Thank you anyway. Plasma is After Dark plus Papyrus icons. I actually haven't tried Papyrus icons yet, but it didn't kill it. Canonical did. Well, yes, Mr. Pedantic, you're correct. I'll add Cavantum to your list. Yeah, Cavantum is a pretty cool framework. Thanks for coming to the stream, T-Rex. On Twitch. 2 hours late. Notice. Nice notice. Welcome back, Tux. Alice, I did post on Twitter, Mastodon, and Telegram. Oh, I forgot Discord. So in the future, I'm going to do as many places as possible to let people know I'm going live, just in case YouTube decides to not be good like normal. Because most of the time it does forget things. It doesn't. Often it doesn't send notifications, but the other ones, like if you subscribe or follow on any of the other ones, those will be updated. Mastodon and Twitter for sure. The other ones as well, probably. There's a service plugin for Dolphin that gets you option set wallpaper. Works nice. Nice, Conseco. Thanks for that tip. They should add that service by default. That's probably like no reason not to, really. For Discord, you could use bots that say you're going live. That's a good point, T-Rex. I should totally do that. I think there's bots for Telegram, too, for that, too. What I do is currently I have Twitch go live and use Twitch API to tell other things that it's going live, because the Twitch API is actually quite good and reliable. The YouTube API, not so much. Whose KDE theme you prefer, Kubuntu's or Manjaro's? Mim, you're on 1804 now. Cool. Hink, I don't know. So, oh, welcome back. Oh, thanks, Alice. I don't know why I didn't read that part. I prefer Kubuntu's because I helped make it, but I also don't remember what Manjaro's default theme for KDE Plasma is. So I can't really have an opinion on that one because I'm not sure I've seen it in a very long time. I remember Windows being always bright as KDE, and at least we can change it on KDE. Yeah, booming the default window is bright, and it kind of has to be because there's a lot of application artifacts issues for dark themes sometimes, so it's kind of like hard to make that be a default. But the panels and the menus and the context menus and all that other stuff and the widgets and things like that, those shouldn't be bright by default, but they are in Plasma because reasons, I guess. So that's what I wanted to change in Kubuntu, and thankfully they did. Speaking of things enabled by default, if you ever manage to convince them to turn on thumbnail previews for video files by default, then that would be great. I have had discussions with them about changing the defaults for thumbnail previews for videos and images. They Kubuntu is open to doing that. I don't know if they've done it yet, but they are open to it at least, or at least considering it. Plasma, honestly, I don't have much hope in Plasma changing anything, really, unless you force it, and I have no ability to force it, so I've kind of given up, on that. Maybe ask some Kubuntu people if they can convince them, maybe, but I don't have much expectation for the KDE team to make changes that are not their own ideas. I had one person replied to me changing something, making a suggestion in Kubuntu to change, which they did accept, as I was ignoring the carefully selected defaults that the VDG team had created, except for the fact that they weren't carefully selected at all. The VDG didn't exist at the time these were changed, and they made no sense to make that claim. So, yeah. So there's that. I like KDE Neon version of Plasma, but Kubuntu with the backports is amazing. Nice. I mean, I don't have anything against Plasma defaults. Well, that's not true. The vanilla Plasma is not bad. It's just not as good as it could be. Like, there are so many things it could be fantastic, but it purposefully seems to shoot itself in the foot for no reason. And that's kind of sad and unfortunate. Has no two-factor authentication support. That's interesting. Why do you want two-factor authentication to get in your own computer? Because you'd have to have physical access to get into your computer. So, like, why do you want two-factor to get into the computer? Maybe like an enterprise thing or something? Curious. I think Manjaro's theme is way too bright green. I don't like the green color scheme that they have. Like, I tried Manjaro XFCE, and I definitely don't like the color scheme for that. But I haven't tried the Plasma one, so I don't know. This does explain why I always end up coming back to Kubuntu after distro hopping. There's so many great things out of the box. The automatic printer installs blew me away. Yeah, that one is cool too. Because the Ubuntu technically made that, but Kubuntu utilized it very nicely and integrated it into Plasma very nicely. I enjoyed my recent stint with Plasma on Tumbleweed, but now back to Bunsen. Nice. I mean, I like Bunsen. Really not good that Tumbleweed pulls in beta unstable apps. That's taking trolling too far. Rolling. You meant rolling. But it's kind of trolling it a little bit. Let's see, I'll be on my Neomar flat Plasma fix. So why do you... that's because of the rolling part. Never mind. That's pretty much... I could pretty much assume that. Some workspaces require it. What do you mean workspaces? You mean like some companies that you work for require it, or like co-working spaces or something like that? User edition. Preview builds 50 and 51 were really good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 1804 version of Neon. Still, it's going to have the same problems as far as like defaults, but you know. Some companies require it. That's interesting because companies having security in mind is shocking, honestly, a lot of the time. For their employees, for sure. A couple of jobs back, everyone had to have two-factor authentication before logging into laptops. That's interesting, and also needed encryption. Love Manjaro theming because I like the green. I mean, I like green theming. I just don't think that their choice works well. Oh, they require it for admins. Oh, okay. That makes a ton of sense. They should do that. They should require it for admins. I got to go take care of. Thanks for coming to the stream, Lamer Linux. Go into touchito.com/hit the like button. That's good. I should actually make that. Rolling is not inherently bad as long as it's curated rolling model. Yeah, I agree. To a point. You know, it depends on what they're rolling. T-Rex says, oh, not sure if Twitch would ban you for that, but you're still playing Rocket League here. Oh, crap. I meant to change it to talk show, and I forgot. I changed the title, but I forgot to change the game. That sucks. My bad. I need to fix that. But it's already pretty much too late now, so I'm not going to bother. But I'll fix it next time. You go do that. Oh, yeah. I'll definitely make something like that for the URL or whatever. I like the idea. So, anyway, next topic. I need to go ahead and move on because I forgot to do that. And we are looking at probably that. And that. Up next in the show is DaVinci Resolve 15 has been released. DaVinci Resolve, if you've never heard of it, is a professional video editor, and it has a lot of other things like video effects and things like that as well. And it has been released for Linux. Now, they've actually had a support for Linux for quite a while, but this latest version is the full whole major stack update for DaVinci Resolve. So they've added a lot of interesting, cool features. Like they've added an entirely new DaVinci Fusion page, and this has 250 tools for compositing and painting and particles and animated titles and all kinds of stuff. So, as far as feature-wise, DaVinci Resolve is a very heavy-featured, powerful video editor, and they have a lot of new professional editing and colorist stuff. So, 300 new features for colors and stuff like that. It's really interesting, and it's a really powerful video editor, but they have some weird issues in the sense of they have a free version, but that free version is pretty limited. It's not as limited as other ones. Lightworks is a really good, powerful video editor, but it's got some more limitations like format, resolution, and stuff like that. But DaVinci Resolve also has some limitations for the free version. And if you would like to get the paid version is $300. So it's kind of a big chunk, and if you're not, prepared to pay that, that's okay, because there's also another option called Pit2V, and Pit2V is a open source video editor. So if that is too expensive, you can check out this one. It's a free open source video editor, and this has a new big update from Harish as the developer, and he's a part of the Google Summer of Code initiative, and has made a lot of cool features and updates, such as improving the interface visuals. Like the video preview now has this easier resizing, and also shows you a visual of how big that window, that preview is compared to the original video size, things like that. It's a really cool updates, and if you haven't tried Pit2V, it might be worth checking it out. I think Pit2V has a lot of potential, but might not be there yet, but it does have a lot of potential, so I'm looking forward to their future updates. Also, if you're another video editor that has a recent update, is Shotcut. And Shotcut is made by the same people who make the MLT framework. And if you've never heard of the MLT framework, it's essentially a fundamental piece that a lot of video editors use. So, for example, TWinL35, which is a very popular video editor, uses the MLT framework. And the Shotcut editor is made by the same people who make that framework. So there's a lot, so you can kind of rest assured that it's a solid video editor. Now, there are some issues with the video editor with Shotcut, because the default layout of the application just looks like a player rather than an editor, so that's kind of weird. But for the most part, once you switch it, it works quite well. There's a lot of intuitive UI that it has that I like the way to do transitions from one clip to another, like a fade or something. You can just kind of just drag the clip, drop it on the other clip, and then bam, it does it. Really cool idea, but there are some quirks and stuff like that, so you should check out the tutorials from the developer to learn more about that. You can find a link to all of these video applications or video editor applications in the show notes below. And finally this week, we'd like to welcome Lenovo to the Linux vendor firmware service, because they're now supporting the native firmware updating in Linux. So what this is basically, thanks to a partnership between LVFS and Lenovo, you can now update your firmware for your BIOS and things like that directly in Linux without ever you have to reboot in order to get it activate pretty much, but you can do it inside of Linux rather than having to, in some cases, some hardware requires you to boot into Windows to do it, and other cases you can do it through the BIOS and things like that, but you'd have to do it. You couldn't do it through your existing system, and that was kind of annoying. But now with Lenovo and many other vendors as well, but Lenovo is one of the big ones because it has the ability to do it with ThinkPads now, because Lenovo makes ThinkPads and everything. So it's really cool that they have joined this, and it makes it possible that you can update your firmware through GNOME Software Store, and also KDE's Discover is working on making that possible too. So very cool, and thanks for joining the team, Lenovo. Looking forward to the polished experience, because I haven't updated my firmware in an easy experience in a very long time, mostly through the BIOS or some annoying method. So I'm looking forward to trying it out whenever I do, but BIOS usually don't update that much, so it might be a while, but still fantastic. If you have a System 76 machine, you already have another, they have their own type of firmware updating, so you wouldn't really use this particular thing. So you need to look into your own usage if you have, see if your manufacturer has this kind of thing built into it. So if you're looking to buy something like that, there should be a vendor list for the LVFS to see if it does. But go ahead and check that out. Pretty sure Dell also supports it. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling now. That's it for this episode of This Week in Linux. If you'd like to learn more about all the different topics we have covered in this particular episode, look for the links in the show notes and tuxdigital.com/twinl35. I think it's 35. Is it 35? I forgot. Chat, is it 35? $35. Cool. So, okay. You can go to tuxdigital.com/twinl, that's TWinl35, to get the show notes. Or just tuxdigital.com/thisweekinlinux. Or look in the description right now. Any of those things you could do. That is it for this episode. If you would like to contribute to the channel, you can go to tuxdigital.com/LinuxIsEverywhere to purchase the Linux is Everywhere t-shirt. It's the shirt I made to celebrate the proliferation of Linux. Linux is, actually Tux is blended into the background of the shirt to convey the message that whether you know that Linux is there or not, it probably is. So, You can order the shirt from shipping from North America and from Europe by going to tuxdigital.com/LinuxIsEverywhere or tuxdigital.com/LinuxIsEverywhere.eu. I have said that so much that I can say that pretty smoothly without screwing up now. I did kind of screw up a little bit, though. Or you could go to tuxdigital.com/contribute to help out the chat. If you have already super chatted today, feel free to skip all of these because, not trying to get you to double dip or anything. I appreciate the support that you've already shown. And also, if you are not aware, I am I'm one of the hosts of the Destination Linux podcast, and we are going to be releasing a new episode this week on Wednesday. So be sure to check that out. Or if you are a patron, you will be getting it early this week, probably tomorrow. I think I'll have it done editing. I should be able to finish done editing it tomorrow. So sometime on Monday, there should be ability to watch that one if you are a patron. If you are not, then you will be needing to wait until Wednesday. Ha. But anyway, so the Destination Linux is podcast I do with Das Geek and Zebedee Boss. I don't know how he says it like that. I just like saying it. So I think it's Zebedee Boss or Zebedee Boss. It's saying it really fast. Zebedee Boss. It's just fun. I don't know. Anyway, if you want to try out that podcast, the latest episode is a good one. The next episode is an interview we did with Matthew Miller of Fedora, and that's a fun interview, so you should definitely check that out. But anyway, I'm not ending the show right now or ending the stream. I'm just telling you all these things because I forgot to mention in the beginning of the stream, and now I'm doing it, so that, if you're new to the channel or new to the thing, you can have all of these things. So, let's go to that. Bam. 35. Yep, cool. Very popular some calendar you can use to replace the default clock too. Yeah, Event Calendar is a really good widget that you can change all kinds of stuff, and you can replace the clock, and it's super powerful and it's awesome. I love that widget. If you're talking about Plasma, anyway. It's a weird name for the widget, but it's Event Calendar. Somehow anyway, weird name. Too bad I was late looking forward to the edited version. Yep, it'll be good, Alice. Hopefully. We'll see. Thanks, Dan. I'm glad you like it. Can you say, Michael, what days or times your shows are live? Yes, I can tell you. It won't be right, but I can tell you. Because I'm never on time, apparently. I'm going to try to fix that. I'm working on that. I am. It's going to be. Some TV stations use Shotcut. Maybe that's why the interface is weird. That's interesting, Seiko. I didn't know that. But Shotcut is pretty cool, and I do like its features. But there's some things that are just awkward. I wish they fixed it. Anyway, the answer to the question, Lucas, is the show is meant to be live on Saturdays at 1 p.m. to maybe 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays, which would be roughly 5 to 6 p.m. UTC. So if you use UTC, then that's, if you're in Europe, for example, somewhere around there. The goal is to have it so that the show is recorded on Saturdays at that time period consistently. That is the goal. I think I've done that maybe 3 times ever. Maybe 4 times, actually. We'll see. I'll have to look it up. I don't know. But not often. Yeah, hope it helps. Info. I'll gladly see it Wednesday. You're saying you're on Big Day Linux as well. Lucas, I am sometimes on Big Day Linux, but Destination Linux, Rocco is no longer on Destination Linux. Destination Linux is me, Ryan, and Zeb. Rocco has decided has previously left the podcast, but I am occasionally on his Big Daddy Linux live show sometimes. I was on this past week, or this past, like, yesterday, a little bit. I didn't have time to stay long, but I did join for a little bit. Because I had to get this show prepared and everything, you know? That's why I've asked for Google integration. You can see it in there. Oh, do you mean Google integration for, like, Google Calendar kind of thing? Because I could put it on there, I suppose. Don't see why not. Like, set up a Google Calendar thing for people to check in. That's an interesting idea. Beat me to the punch on the time of the shows. Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to say something, Darkwing, so I went ahead and kind of preempted your trollishness, your darkness. Thanks, Richard. I'm glad you liked it. Lucas, you're a really good host. Appreciate that. Keeping the stream interesting. Thank you. That is my goal. Because the show, I think, is interesting, but I think that I enjoy the stream more because of the chat and everything. So, I know. It's kind of like a benefit to both, I suppose. They can simply blame Windows Update for being late. Yeah, I don't have an excuse. It's usually just me. I was saying it's last. Oh, okay. But I think the show is pretty good, you know, still. Destination Linux, I mean. Yeah, Rocco's left, but we've made some interesting changes since his departure that I think has kept it, you know, fun and everything. So hopefully people agree. Me troll, no, but spreading darkness to the world of Linux. Okay. There you go. Pretty good. Freaking amazing. That's a good point, Dosgeek. I agree. I didn't want to be, you know, too egotistical about how we've continued to make the show even better and better and better and better and better, because that's what we do. That's what we do. Andy Rocco left because he decided he didn't have time or didn't want to spend the time to do the editing anymore. So he wanted to have time to, you know, enjoy having free time, I guess. I don't know how to explain exactly, but the way he described it was that he wanted to have more free time, where like the show was taking up most of his free time kind of thing. And that's understandable because, you know, it does take up a lot of time. Now that I'm doing editing as well, it takes up a lot of time. Yes. Yes, it does. Especially now that I have 2 shows that I'm editing weekly. That's fun. I mean, it actually is fun, but the editing is kind of a pain. That's why I'm trying to streamline this show, because I'm now doing the editing for 2 shows or 2 podcasts. And that's a lot of work. Europe uses GMT, but that's also pretty close to UTC. Yeah, I think I use UTC because GMT is not totally accurate. UTC is more accurate. And because the GMT, like, they're very close to each other, but technically speaking, like, UTC is based on the atomic clock thing, and it's way more accurate. You know, there are some hosts of podcasts I like and interesting topics, but they talk like priests, making me sleepy. I won't mention names, as you've said. As I say, you're great. Thank you. I'm glad that you think that. Because I do try to. Okay, here's the thing. I think news shows are boring. And I do a news show. So that's why I try to keep the show not so boring. Because news in general is kind of boring. And I want to be, more unique and more, bring a new approach to news. Especially like tech news is also kind of boring depending on the person making it. So I also want to make that, interesting. Wow, Dark One. Savage. Sorry, my phone is sending messages. UTC is Europe, but UTC +1 is Europe during daylight savings times. Because the UTC and GMT technically never changed, they just changed what it's being used. That is perfect. That is perfect, Dan. Yes, news shows are boring, but Linux GNU shows, like this is the only one, basically. Anyway, are not boring. So that's a good point. Booming says UTC +2. Thanks for staying, Booming, because that means it's like for you 11, a little past 11. Wait. No. A little past 10. What did Wendy say? Spreads more light than he likes to let be known. Yeah, don't let the secret out. There are more news shows. Yeah, there are multiple news shows, but I think I do the best. It would be kind of ridiculous for me not to, because I want my show to be the best, So, but there's more, there's room for everybody, I guess. Right underneath me. Sorry. But see, This Week in Linux is the news show that I do, and Destination Linux is more of a conversational podcast that I do. I wouldn't call myself I guess I kind of wouldn't really, actually. So yes, Lucas, I would say yes. Your last This Week in Linux was 3 weeks ago. So did you talk about Proton today? And what do you think about it? Yes, I did. I did talk about Proton today. And you can watch the show back after the editing to find out. I'm kidding. Proton's awesome. I'm glad that it's happening. I can't wait to try out some stuff. Turns out, though, I've always been like a person who doesn't buy games unless they're Linux supported. So all of my games except for like 3 are Linux supported and not Windows only. So I didn't have anything to try except for 3, and those 3 I don't have any intention of playing and don't care. So I can't test anything yet, so I have no idea if it worked, how well it works. But it is really cool, and I'm glad that they did it. Some fantastic potential there. Try to put a crack in your dark shell. Nice. All right. My goal for the way I did the show today was to make it so the editing will be less. And I think the editing will be less this time. Because I had the majority of the content, in reasonable sections. And I don't think I said anything super stupid that I have to edit out. I do have to edit some things because that part where I couldn't remember what number the show was, I need to edit that part. For the most part, I think I did fine. So I think the editing won't be that much this week. Hopefully, we'll see. So I'm trying to make it where I can streamline the editing of this show and the editing of Destination Linux enough where I can get them both done on the weekend, so that way I can have the patrons get an early access to both. But we'll see. Would like to see games games are supported when Steam makes Proton working with them. Well, the cool thing about it is that all the whitelisted games that Valve has on their when they have a list, Valve will provide support, which is amazing. So the developers don't actually have to. But it also is like a lot of developers have already said that because Valve is giving them help for support, they are happy to try out the Linux support stuff. So there's a lot of game developers that are a couple anyway, not a lot. I don't know. There's a couple that have said because Valve's helping, it makes it less of a burden for them, and they are excited to participate. Mac users spam Steam forums. They want Proton now too. Yeah. I added that in the show. That is part of the show where I mentioned that I like the fact that the Proton thing is Linux focused only. And it's kind of a jab at Mac users, but not really. It's like, I'm really happy that Linux is getting such a big push from Valve, because this is fantastic. They should drop Metal instead of use Vulkan. Yeah, if you didn't have to use Vulkan has API calls for DirectX, but right now for Mac you have to have an API call to Vulkan, which then goes to DirectX. So they're Molten, then to Vulkan. So it's Metal, Molten, Vulkan, DirectX to make this work. And if they just used Vulkan properly, you wouldn't have to worry about that. So that's why Mac users don't get it. Actually, I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put that in the show because that's a good point I didn't think about yet. Oh, man, I didn't want to open that. Let me close that now. Okay. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to do... So speaking of Mac and Proton, there was the people... what? Not even sure I was going to say right there, so I stopped. Well, that's good. I stopped anyway because the timestamp I put on there was wrong. So it's better that I stopped because now I can fix it. So a lot of people, when they asked about the Mac OS support, they were kind of disappointed that it didn't have it. And I understand the disappointment because you want the benefits as well if you are a Mac user. But I just want to point out, this is kind of Apple's fault. So in order to make Proton work, they have Wine and Vulkan support to do like API transitions and stuff like that for DirectX. So in order to have a conversion, they have DirectX calls being converted into Vulkan calls, which are then being utilized inside the Linux system. But there's really not any Vulkan in macOS. There's technically Molten, which is it's Metal plus Vulkan API bridge thing. So essentially, in order to have macOS support in the same way that Linux is getting it, would be Metal. There you go. By the way, for the audio listeners, feel free to just look at that. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll cut that. Metal to Molten to Vulkan to DirectX. So instead of DirectX to Vulkan. So that's why it makes it much more difficult for Mac users to get it. So you might want to consider replacing your Mac OS with Linux. Just an idea. Or not. Either way. But feel free, because Linux is better. I mean... Hink, yeah, technically yes, but in the way I was describing it is pointing out that it's Apple's fault. So I wanted to point out that here's the path that Apple has to go through in order to support the DirectX calls, whereas Linux DirectX is just DirectX to Vulkan, whereas they have to go through DirectX to Vulkan to Molten, then to Metal, because they have Proton is basically a bridge for DirectX to Vulkan. Whereas they would need another bridge to use Molten, so they would have to go to DirectX to Vulkan to Molten to get Metal. So it's I was pointing out that it's Apple's kind of setting that, making that break point of the APIs makes it so that Valve doesn't care about their system. T-Rex says that he tried it with a few games and some worked great, some had bugs. That makes sense. There's actually a list of there's a spreadsheet that has like over 1,000 supported games, which is awesome, and I own none of them. So, but I'm gonna go back to the thing I missed. Okay. So that part's done now. In the future, an AI will edit for you. I wish I could make an automation thing, but it's really hard to do that. I don't use no Proton, just Muon. Not sure what you're referring to. I mean, I know what Muon the installer is, but I'm not sure what it has to do with the games though. To quote Valve, any plans for Proton on Mac? Short answer, nope. Yep. Proton on Mac would kind of defeat the point. Apple is so incredibly restrictive. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I wanted to. I think I said that enough. I'm not sure if I totally expressed what I wanted to say, but that's what I kind of wanted to say. I think I did, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes when you're a podcaster or a YouTuber, I guess, or any kind of who makes media a lot, I kind of forget what I say because I say stuff so much. I've had some time where someone like sent me a message and they'd say something like, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And I was like, I think I did an episode on that. I'd have to go check to make sure, though, because I don't even remember if I did. Wine used to mean that, but they don't actually use that acronym anymore. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. Sebsonized, Sebencide. That's a fun thing to say. Puts markers in the video and lets the program cut it automatically. Yeah, I wish that was possible, but the problem is I don't think TWinL35 has the ability to do that. I mean, I could do it with FFmpeg, but the effort to make the script do that is not worth it. The Linux example, you set it from the application perspective, and for the Mac OS example, you flipped it. Well, I kind of want to just say it's, close enough so I don't have to do it again. Here's the question for you. Hank, do you think it's close enough? I'm just pressing it because Windows and such might cut them off in the future, so for our free systems for the future. Yeah, I agree. That's pretty much why they're doing it. If only older episodes wouldn't be kind of old news, I get on a playlist since episode 1 of Dux Digital, and I might try to miss new ones. So that there's the old. Here's the thing about this show. Yes, there's old news, but I don't just talk about stuff that people have heard of. I also try to find a lot of obscure applications and things like that. So the show has a lot of stuff that even if you look at the old ones, there's still stuff you might not have ever heard of, even if they're old news. Like for example, I've talked about there was an application I won't name names, but someone came to me in Telegram and said, "Hey, have you heard of this application?" And I said, "Yes, I covered it in the show 6 months ago. You should check it out." So there are things that you might not have heard of, but the show has show notes, so you can check them out anyway. So you don't have to listen to the whole thing, really. I think that's actually kind of why the segment index really works. So you could go in and say, here's the topics that you're interested in, you can check those out. So if you wanted to do listen to the old shows or whatever, watch the old shows, the segment index can offer that while actually not having to watch the whole thing. There you go. Since episode 1 it is. That might be a little extreme. The show also, the segment index did not start on the first few episodes. I don't remember when I started it. I don't know. And also, I didn't start being on camera until I think episode 7 or so. And I didn't have this microphone until so the first few episodes are not as good as these now. If these are any good in the first place. I was late on that app from time to time picking up. Oh, wow. Picking up my habits. There you go. I deserve that. If I'm going to troll the master, I should expect trolls back, right? Back-to-back episodes. Nice. What the heck is Streamio? I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what you're asking. I understand what you mean. Well, make it wonder why it translate metal to DirectX. It will make wonder. I mean, it is effectively translating eventually from metal to DirectX. Oh, you mean because instead of DirectX to metal? Well, yeah. I mean, it's fair, but meh. That's not extreme. I'll manage. Fear not, amigo. I was watching Ubuntu podcasts. Even join one episode. Nice. Does Ubuntu podcasts, do they still make that? I thought they stopped making that. Pretty sure they did stop. Yeah, they did stop. The last episode on their website is 21 March last year. So I think they stopped. So that's interesting. Might talk to them about potentially. I don't know. I don't know if I have time for another podcast. I was thinking maybe I could like help them out with their podcast, but I don't know if I have time for another one. I stopped making a podcast too after having Das Geek on as a guest. Hey, Dark One, what time are you doing that? I'll be on Linux meeting on Tuesday. Let's see how many use Linux as their daily driver, by the way. Maybe the people on your meeting came through to install it. Booming, no. One of them used it as he was interested in learning. The rest were like sysadmins that used it for their work, for the most part. One of them was like dabbling with as a desktop thing, but there's actually another meeting for that same group this coming Wednesday. So I will be there, and I'm going to test. I'm going to ask again and see if that changes, because I think at least 4 or 5 more people different that are coming. So it's potential that that number might go up. And I'm going to ask them also if they'd be interested in trying out on a laptop or whatever. Meant to reiterate. I use Ubuntu. Okay, cool. Ubuntu podcast is still going. I'm talking about the Kubuntu podcast, like specifically that distro's version, because they had one for about a year, I think. So I want. That's the problem with the names of these applications, like these distros having similar names. We were talking about the Kubuntu podcast, not the Ubuntu podcast. But Ubuntu podcast is great with Wimpy and Popey. Clive, you resigned and you don't think Ovi is interested in helping. Ah, okay. Hasn't gotten back to me. Oh, okay. He responds on Telegram as much as you record on time. How dare you? Accurate, but how dare you? Although I do respond very quickly when people send me messages, so that there's at least that, you know. I got something going for me, which is nice. It is still going. They just put an episode on August 30th. Oh, really? Where do you get the podcast then, Pete? Unless you're referring to Ubuntu podcast, then I know that. Didn't know Kubuntu had a podcast. They did. Starting in 2016, and I think they ended it in early 2017. And I actually helped a little bit with their podcast prior to becoming a Kubuntu contributor, but I wasn't really on the show or anything. I just gave them tips about how they could fix things. Oh, you thought I said Ubuntu? Okay, yeah, that's why I clarified. Thanks for coming to the stream, Alice. I'm glad you came. You know, spent some time with the show. Hopefully, you liked it. I've not had one with Kubuntu for ages. Yeah, it's been like a year, I think. Well, if he ever gets back to you, Darkwing, let me know what he says, so that I don't know if he's actually talked to you about this yet. Oh, I'll need to put that into the show notes. Oh, okay. So I forgot to mention this, and I think it's fine if I do. Pretty sure it's actually good if I do. Let's see. 27. Okay. Yeah, okay, cool. So, tomorrow there will be, hopefully I'll be able to edit the show. Oh, I'm still on that screen. Weird. Hopefully I'll be able to edit the show this evening and to release it tomorrow. Maybe, hopefully. If not, then at some point, whatever. But here's the thing. I will be streaming again tomorrow. Although it won't be the show. It will be gaming. There you go. We will be playing a Linux game. And here's the kicker. There's a lot of press going around about Proton and playing Proton games and all this other stuff, right? So we're going to be different. And I'm going to be streaming with Das Geek, or Ryan, from Destination Linux. And I don't know if he mentioned it to Darkwing or not. Yes, he did. Okay, cool. So me and Ryan, and I'm pretty sure Darkwin, will be streaming Xonotic tomorrow, which is an Linux-based game and an open source. An open source Linux-based game. So if you would like to check out the stream tomorrow, we'll be playing games, and also we'll be talking about Linux and stuff like that. So it's not like just you're just watching a game or anything. It's still gonna be like basically a stream like this, and I will have the chat up like I do now. So I will be I'm not very good at the game, so if I get destroyed while talking to the chat, it won't be any different from when I'm not talking to the chat. So, it will be like the similar style. Oh yeah, and it is going to be the version that comes with Snap. So you Snap install Xonotic is what we're going to be playing. And I think we'll also at the time announce what server we're going to connect to. So if you're watching live and want to play, you can. We have no idea what that server might be right now, so I can't tell you. But that's what the plan is. Also, to be clear, I didn't tell Ryan that I was going to be announcing the server, so he doesn't know that yet. But he'd probably be fine with it. So if you want to come and destroy us, feel free. Let's see. And also, I don't know how good my streaming machine is because I've only tried to stream my games twice ever. The first one was abysmal, and the second one was I think I got it to work. So hopefully I'll be able to get it to work tomorrow after making a claim that it's going to happen. But we'll see. Even if it is just disastrous, it will still be fun to see the misery that I put myself through. Anyway. See you next week. Same time, same channel. Yep. Thanks for coming, Alice. The like button needs some more love. Thanks, Alice. Now, but really soon. It would be nice to have Kubuntu-centered podcast to watch. Well, I mean, the problem is I don't know how much data happens for Kubuntu, like how much changes to have a podcast specifically for it. Whereas a Ubuntu podcast is not really about Ubuntu exclusively. It just happens to be people who work at Ubuntu or work at Canonical. So they don't focus just on Ubuntu, so I'm not really sure what... Like, Kubuntu would need developers from Kubuntu to be on the show, and I wouldn't really be that, because people also wouldn't associate me being that either, more than likely, because most people don't know I do that, or I contributed to it. Next you is before author acted. Oh, I see. Has the stream stopped? No, not that I'm aware of. Maybe. Could be some buffering issues or something. No, 1804, 1910. Or this guy. Yeah, I was about to say, like, when you die, you fall on your back for some reason, always. Xonotic is a fun game. It's like a Quake style first person shooter game, like very fast paced. So if you like that kind of first person shooter, then Xonotic would be fun. I mean, Plasma is huge, yeah, and KDE itself is huge, but that wouldn't be like Kubuntu making a podcast. I don't know. Like, Kubuntu would have to be people from Kubuntu or be about Kubuntu. So, like, or about, I guess about Plasma too is fine. Why not? I don't know. I do cover Plasma a lot in the show, but only when it's something that makes sense to cover, like it's a big news thing. Because I don't want to be like the guy who just does Plasma stuff. Because I am a fan of Plasma, but I don't want to be just a plasma person or just a plasma podcaster kind of thing. I want to cover everything. Looks like Santa is resigning too. Oh, that's weird. I didn't know he was doing that. Mim, are you still watching? Okay. So, now I'm back. One of the reasons I got interested in you talk about plasma, I like the rest. Just everyone else is so GNOME focused stuff. Oh yeah, I mean I definitely like. I'm glad you like it because I do have a lot of plasma preference, so I do talk about plasma way more than other. I just don't want to be like only plasma guy, you know. So, but I have no problem with talking about plasma or Qt and things like that. Because I do enjoy, Qt and plasma more. So, I don't know. Here's the thing. So, I have this show of This Week in Linux. I also have Destination Linux. And I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. And I'm going to be releasing another video sometime this week on this channel. And hopefully 2 more videos this week, actually. So it'll be this show plus a stream plus this stream plus 2 other videos is the goal. Because I'm trying to like streamline the way I do my content. That way I can do more. And hopefully it works. So we'll see. Because I don't like the fact that, one, I haven't done a single video at all in 3 weeks. And that's just not good. So I'm going to force myself to do more. And now also, some people will say that forcing in the sense of like they're not going to enjoy doing it. And I totally do. So like that's not like it's not like I'm forcing myself to do something I don't want to do. I totally want to do it. It's just sometimes things get in the way kind of thing. And I want to try to make that not happen, you know? That's why I'm trying to streamline everything. That's why I did the back-to-back recording thing, and I changed the way my OBS is set up like heavily to make that possible and stuff like that. Oh no, I hate editing. I think editing is the worst part. But I need to edit in order to make it work because I don't like the shows that are just like ridiculously long and just aimless. I don't mind doing streams like that because that's fun. Having a live interaction is fun. It doesn't really need to be like specific, but I think like a show that has like an actual format to be aimless is weird because it can be boring, and I don't want my content to ever be boring. And I think a long stream, even if it's aimless, isn't really boring because it's an interaction itself. And it is good lately, really good. It's not one process like other DE I could mention. Yeah, that one thread thing, yep. So I don't enjoy editing. Actually, that's not true. I do kind of. I enjoy like learning new techniques, but the tedious part of it, not really. So if I make the editing easier, not easier, less tedious. So here's the thing. The reason why I did the whole back-to-back topic thing was so that the editing was me cutting that piece out of the stream, of the really long stream, and then leaving it there and like maybe doing a little bit of, polishing up or whatever. Instead of having to do each individual topic, cut and cut, cut and cut, cut and cut. Not that it's hard, it's just tedious and annoying. So if I can limit the amount of times that I need to do it, it's a lot easier. Not easier. Less annoying. There you go. Less annoying. It's still the same amount of effort. It's just less annoying to do. Yeah, Wendy. I'm going to try to do like a full schedule thing. I mean, not every single day, because I don't think I can. I mean, maybe eventually. That's kind of the goal, is to eventually be able to do every day, but I don't think I'll do that anytime soon. But I want to do like a full schedule of like at least 3 a week. And I don't know if I count the streams as a part of the schedule. What do you think? Do you think streams are good enough to count or not? Welcome to the stream, Rose. Yeah, Clive is not involved in BSD. Rose, let's see. How do you do development coding project works when you make a lot of videos? I haven't made a lot of videos. Or actually coding and development work, other than like clients' requirement stuff. But as far as like contributing to projects and stuff, I haven't made videos as much, so I kind of had time to do that. But I mean, I guess I really did because of the Destination Linux editing and stuff like that. That kind of counts, I suppose. So I don't know how to answer that question because I don't think there's a. I think it's more of like a passion thing. Like I like to contribute. I like to make podcasts, and I like to make videos, and I like to help teach people about Linux and provide information and all that stuff. And I have a passion for Linux itself, and I have a passion for helping people learn about it. So I think it's because I just enjoy doing it, so I don't even think about whether I have time or not. I just do it. So I don't know if I answered the question or not, or if I completely walked around it. So let me know if I did or didn't. Don't forget to give yourself a break. That's true. But I kind of did a break sort of this past 3 weeks or so because I haven't done this show. I did other shows, and unfortunately, because the other show is not posted on this channel, people didn't know that. Because the other shows I did were Destination Linux. So in the past 3 weeks, I have not done a single episode of this show, but I've done one episode every week for that show. So if you are like missing me saying weird things, feel free to listen to that podcast. Clive, were you against my, because my redesign of the layout, the UI of Plasma was during that time. Did you disagree with that? Live streams are my favorite content, though I do really appreciate pre-recorded Linux content too. Nice. Cool. I mean, I like doing live streams a lot, but I kind of want to put out more content that's just sustainable. I don't know. About pricing and licensing. I mean, Qt is, and it has an open license. They have multiple licenses technically. I wanted a Unity theme. Oh, right. Yeah, but didn't, oh, I see. Okay. Because my theming was just a tweak, not really a whole layout. Okay. But yeah, Unity layout would have been good. I mean, now it's at the point where it's not as big a deal, but it would have been much better to have it at the LTS. I was forced to understand Ubuntu so I could understand Neon. I don't know what that means. That's not a break. I mean, that's true, Paul. I didn't technically take a break. I just did other things that were somewhat the similar related stuff. So that's a good point. It technically wasn't a break. It was actually kind of more stressful, honestly. I understand why Rocco had to leave, you know, because he needed to do other things. But it was very, like, I didn't have much notice in order to become the editor. So I had to kind of, like, work as I go. So the first couple episodes of the recent versions have, like, some issues of editing and stuff like that, and some overlay issues, and, you know, a variety of things that I didn't have time to solidify until now. So the latest episode that's coming out, this next one, has, like, the editing of that episode was not very hard or tedious, but the other ones were kind of a pain. So hopefully in the future, if I keep the editing like the one I did we did just this week, or that's coming out this week, if we can keep it, the editing, that it'll be perfect. Like, I have no issue whatsoever. Like, continue to make them and stuff. I guess it's budgeting your time for various projects might overwhelm you. With that, I was curious about. Rose, So the answering of how I budget my time is I don't. And that's why I have this weird thing about not posting videos on my channel. I should totally actually do it, though. I should budget my time. That way I would be able to do more things and stuff like that. I'm saying the live streams count. Nice. All right, cool. I do like your tutorials about stuff. Thank you, Paul. So I wanted to be community maintained. Oh, wow. So you wanted Kubuntu to maintain Qt instead of Debian, so that Kubuntu would have more control. Which makes sense because right now the reason why Qt or why Plasma 513 is not available in like Kubuntu right now is because of the management of Qt. So that is interesting. It is impossible to understand Neon if you don't put into historical context with Kubuntu. I don't know. Maybe? Never thought about it. Start a launchpad team for Qt. Oh, I see. So anything using Qt would be using that from that team rather than Debian. Interesting. Welcome to the stream, Madhouse Jack. And you missed the entire show. The stream has been going for 3 hours and 20 minutes. The show was completed about an hour ago, I think. Same people moved conversation about Qt to a private Telegram group channel. Oh, I see. That's weird. Like seeing the behind the scenes of stuff is kind of weird at times. Yeah, Booming Xonotic is awesome. It's kind of why I wanted to promote it. It's been around for a very long time, so it doesn't get much updates as far as like news. You know, they make updates and patches and stuff, but they don't like make these big pushes for news. So I kind of want to be like, you know what? Proton is really cool. I'm glad, but I don't need to promote these games that may or may not work for people. Instead, let's promote a game that totally will work for people and is also open source and all that stuff. So, Xonotic. I should send a message to the Xonotic team letting them know. Because I know one of the guys who works on Xonotic, and every time I play with him, he has absolutely wrecked me. Which makes sense because he works on it and he totally should. But still, I think I shot him once. I think I might have killed him one time in like a couple hour session. And I was like, yes, finally. You have been killed. I am done with this game. I have proven my worth. Or something. Well, I mean, you can do Telegram and IRC connected together, which is what Kubuntu has right now. So if you have an IRC channel and you have Telegram and you have them linked, it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever, which is what Kubuntu does right now. Oh, after you had to complain about it. Oh, well, that's annoying. So, Lucas, the Xonotic server that JB has, the issue is that most of the people who played on the JB team was me. Because if you're not aware, Lucas, I used to be a producer for Jupiter Broadcasting. So I was one of the main people who played that game. On those servers, I mean. Debian 10 will have whatever the LTS at the time is. So probably. I made a few times playing with Angela on the live stream. Oh yeah, I mean I've played with them a couple times on live, but they're pretty much never there when they're not doing a stream. They're usually not playing the game, so it's usually just community people. Do I remember? Oh, I do remember your producer Michael. Yep, that was me. And I was occasionally on Linux Unplugged. I mean, I used to be on Linux Unplugged, you know, not often. Not anymore, anyway. I occasionally still show up sometimes. Well, I mean, as far as like your question about me being quiet there, the issue is that I was the producer for Linux Action Show mostly, and I did some Unplugged as well, and I was also on like not host, but I was like in the mumble room in Unplugged. But when he decided to end Linux Action Show, it cut my involvement out considerably. Like 80% of what I did was no longer being done. So I didn't really have a reason to still be there, or at least not in the same active role. So really no need for me to be there. And as far as Unplugged goes, he had a new co-host and everything, so. And I kind of wanted to do my own thing anyway, because I felt like Jupiter Broadcasting would be limiting what I get to do. Oh, I see. You meant why the server got quiet. Oh, that's because, yeah, people don't typically go there. When you have when a community creates a server and the person who runs that community isn't there, it kind of limits the interest of that server, I think. That's why the Telegram group that Tux Digital has and the Discord that Tux Digital has, I'm in it all the time. Because I don't want to have something, I don't want to offer something to people that no one is using, because, you know, what's the point? Or the reason why they choose to use it is to talk to me or something. It would be kind of weird to not allow that to be possible, you know? So I don't like providing stuff that I'm not a part of. So like the Mastodon, Diaspora, Telegram, Discord, all those things I actually participate in. No, I agree, Lucas. I liked them prior as well, more. But it's also one of the reasons why I wanted to do video on my channel, video shows on my channel, is I just think they're more fun, really. And I'm bringing new video shows back to this channel. Not shows. I'm gonna make more video of me doing video, and I'll be using like a new camera I got. So should be better quality in the future. I mean, not this show because I'm very small in this little box right here. Because the majority of the content is about what's news and stuff. So the overlay is the content, not just me. I don't know if that's actually... What would your opinion be? This is an interesting topic. Huh. I agree, Viper. You have that with JB shows. What do you mean? I'm missing something there. Google Calendar, you would make. Would make one click on the clock and I know when your next show is. Oh, okay. So that's why you wanted Google Calendar to be integrated. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I could create a schedule that Google Calendar is synced to. However, I think that would only be the show. Oh, Wendy, not that kind of camera. I know I asked you a long time ago for like tips on camera stuff. I didn't get that kind of camera. I will eventually. I do have plans to do so when I do more like non-stationary stuff. But I decided to be cheap, which is not surprising to me for people who, seen the fact that I have a Rock Band mic. But yeah. So, the camera is a webcam, but it's a quality webcam. See it? It's a C922. I do plan on getting another camera that's actually like a DSLR or something like that. But the reason I got that camera is because it's a high quality 1080p camera, and I got it for $50 on the Prime Day sale. I was like, it's hard not to try that just to see. Because if it's $50, it's not like I'm out a lot, and I could still use it as a webcam for this show kind of thing. So it's like, it's hard to not, hard to say no to it, right? Because that was a good price. And the price went back up to like $100 after Prime Day. So I was like, yeah, $50, I'm going to do it. Yeah, C920 is a good one. So I got the C922. Yeah, it's 1080p, 30 frames. So it's like, it's a good camera, and it's kind of a good like stopgap before the DSLR. But it was like, do I want to spend $400, $500 for a solid DSLR, or just spend $50 to kind of get better quality, but not like extremely better quality? I don't know. That was my lazy or cheap reasoning for it. But anyway, I have that with you saying you have the event calendar thing. Okay. So here's the thing about that. So the Google Calendar, totally, I'll set that up for this podcast, not for the other videos, because the other videos, I don't know when I'll be releasing them. Actually, for Destination Linux, I can also do that, but not for like the other shows. I'm going to start doing some more like series, but not shows. They will be like snippet series clips, videos and stuff, and like tutorial videos and stuff like that. That's my plan. So for one, this stream, the episode will be coming out tomorrow sometime, don't know when. I'll be doing a stream tomorrow as well. And I'll be doing a product review video that I'll be releasing this week. I don't know exactly when. I think Thursday, maybe Friday. One of the two, Thursday or Friday. And another video this week that I haven't decided what it will be about yet. So, we'll see. Matter of taste, I guess. I find quality of this show very good. Not saying about, only about video quality. Just there are many crappy shows about Linux. Yeah, that's true. Means I'll be on the live shows more often. Nice. I plan on doing much more content, and I'll be doing more live streams as well. I plan to do. I'm gonna try to do one live stream, like casual stream or a gaming stream, not just a show thing, like every week or maybe every 2 weeks or something. But I don't know yet. Excited for the schedule. Nice. Me too, Dan. Me too. Hopefully I can keep it right. We probably scared you off with the lens conversation. Wendy, so the reason why I got scared off was not that. It was the fact that it was $50 for this thing, and that's why I got it. If it was $100, I'd be like, yeah, I'll pay another $100 or another $150 to get a DSLR. It's like, it's investment wise, it kind of makes sense. But this is a fairly good investment, so it's like, and it's really cheap. Like, I kind of want to try it at least. So we'll see if it works. But yeah, the lens was actually completely over my head. I had no idea what you're talking about. That's kind of funny because it's like, when the DSLR conversation started, I was like, I'm really into this. I understand like the focal length lens and the depth perception stuff and all this other stuff. And then you're like, we got to get this particular lens for this type of camera for this thing. Is like, no idea what you're saying. So I need to probably like gradually get into that space. I still want to do it to make some, get DSLR, make some videos with those and stuff like that. But I'm going to have to gradually step into that more. I like your new plans. That's a good idea. I want that new show. You want that new show. You mean the stream thing? So I'm streaming for 3 hours and 36 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream fairly soon. Not right now, but like in a few minutes. Because, the casual stream. Okay, the casual thing. Yeah, it was definitely a good deal. Yeah, totally. It was hard to just completely dismiss it. Where are the videos? Probably on the KDE community channel. I don't know if that's actually where it is, but that's probably where it is. Just based on what my conversations with the KDE community people goal for that channel was. Hey, Clive, did I ever tell you? I don't know if I did. It's a different type of geek speak. Yeah, exactly. I want to get into that. It's just, I got to work gradually into it, I guess. Clive. So you remember like a while back, there was live streams where Kubuntu channel would get on to the live stream and make comments, and it was Rick. And then you kept seeing like the KDE community channel show up, making comments as well. Did I ever tell you I found out who was controlling the KDE community channel? And those in not in general, but like during those times of like making comments. Did I ever tell you who was controlling it? Okay, so I meant to tell you like way sooner because I totally forgot to tell you, but the answer is me. I hit it pretty well too. Because I was kind of trolling you in the chat while I was also on stream not laughing. Yeah, the timing of it, I was trying to kind of hide it a little bit. But yeah, it was me. I don't know if I told him or not. I think I might have, but I don't know if I did. Because that's what I thought I told you too. So that's why I asked, because I totally thought I did. Oh, you did it by mistake. Oh, okay. Well, I did it because I was already logged in, uploading to the okay, here's the thing. I did the plasma video release video, and I was already logged into KDE community when I joined the chat on that browser, and I was like, I might as well just say something, see what happens. Because they gave me access to upload to the KDE community channel for the plasma videos, because there was this one time where I uploaded one of the videos and they didn't give me enough time to actually make the video, because they finalized what was going to be on the video as far as like what the changes to the blog post. They finalized that on like Sunday, and the post was supposed to be made and posted on a Tuesday, the following Tuesday. So I had like, oh, and by the way, when I say Sunday, it was Sunday late their Sunday their time. So it was actually like late Sunday. So it was like, I think it was somewhere around like Sunday 5 p.m. or something. So I really only had like a day and a half, and I didn't see it until the next day on Monday. So I had to make the video all day Monday. And they asked me, would it be done? I was like, I don't know. Maybe. I can guarantee you won't be able to see it before I post it. There won't be time for that. So I basically got that video done like 2 in the morning. No, 4 or 5 in the morning on Tuesday. So they had no chance of getting that, watching that first. They had to give it to me, otherwise they wouldn't be postable. Did your boy ever send you a Slim book? Nope, no one ever did. He said that he would like keep me in mind, but he didn't send me one. Clive, that is a good idea. That is what they should do. Pretty much all projects should do that if they find something that they want, that they either has good constructive criticism or has something that's like, you know, promoting it. They should totally, like every project should do that. It's good marketing. And yes, Mr. Yourself, I am still live. I will not be live fairly soon though, like a couple minutes. So much stuff can be better with better management, like stuff like that. Yeah, better management would solve a lot of problems in most projects. Yeah, Rick doesn't have a lot of help these days, especially in that field as far as marketing goes, or community management stuff. But Rick does like amazing work. I made a suggestion one time to Rick about like changing something, and I assumed it was gonna be really difficult. And he said, he came to me like 35 minutes later. He's like, done. Like, what? I was like, all right, cool. Is a power condenser mic made to sound much better with a mod? I recorded this video using a modified mic in the Upreda Rode M3. If you sound, I'm happy to send it to you. Oh, that's super cool. I'll have to check that out. I don't know if you're still here, Robbo, but that would be really expensive, like the shipping. All right. What is the software called to manage projects? There's tons of software to manage projects. So does Santa, but you don't see it. Yeah, that's true. I don't have much interaction with Santa. There's a lot of project management software. I have one that I use called Kanboard, which is really cool because it's like a Kanban, open source Kanban tool, and I really like it. But it's a certain style of project management that not everybody likes. If you ever used Trello, it's like that. Santa wrote all the scripts that speed up packaging. Oh, wow. Also help with the CI system. See, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Kanboard is like Kanban. Or actually, it is a Kanban. It is a open source Kanban board system. I'm a big fan of it. Now, to be fair, up front, just so you know, it is hideous. Like, it's ugly. So, but it's easily there's themes. I forgot to say that. Kanban or Kanboard functionally is fantastic. It has a whole crap load of awesome features. But it is ugly. However, there are themes to change and manipulate it to not look so bad. There's a couple that are actually nice. Monday.com, no, I would never use that, Clive. I refuse to use it because of how much they they advertise it, and the name is stupid. It's a work thing they named after the day that most people hate because of it's the first work day. It's like, that's a weird decision. Actually, that's not why. I do think that it's a weird decision and it's a terrible name, but I hate it because they're constantly playing the same ads over and over on everything. But I agree, Clive. I like Fabricator. There's some pieces of Fabricator I like, some I don't. KDE community is as complex as the Plasma desktop. Yeah, but it shouldn't be. That's the problem. A project doesn't need to be that complex. Yeah, LastPass adverts are annoying too. Bitwarden is a great application that I will be doing a video on pretty soon, Clive. Very soon, Clive. Promise. Seriously, I do promise. I also have good news about Bitwarden too, Clive, if you aren't aware. They've been doing like security audits, stuff like that, like code audits and stuff. And they also announced that they're planning to do a full, complete code audit later this year. Because they've already started the process, but the people who were testing it said they would be like a few months before they could get the full verdict. But they've already solved a lot of code issues from the audits that they have, like these individual quick audits, and they have like people finding various things that they're fixing. But now they're going to do a full, hire a company to audit all of their code type thing. So that's coming, and all their encryption and stuff like that. I don't know when that's going to happen or when they're going to actually officially announce the full thing. But I'm looking forward to that. Mainly because I want to like talk about, like I already think the software is good based on my not really that good of an audit looking at it. It seems pretty solid. And the services that they offer is pretty solid. And basically, I'm a big fan. There's some things I don't like the fact that the search takes forever to show up sometimes. That's kind of annoying. But like for the most part, it's fantastic. It's like 95% awesome. But once they have the full security audit done, and if it's good results and whatever ratings and stuff, I will be ecstatic to talk about it. The CLI app is a bit rubbish. That's true, but it's also pretty freaking new, dude. As in, like, I think it's like 2 months old. I think that the CLI app is like 2 months old. Someone is working on a KF5 port. Wait, someone's working on a KF5 port for Bitwarden? So you're going to have like maybe a Kirigami type app or something? Is that what you're saying? Oh, wait. He's saying a KF5 port to Amarok. Oh. That makes more sense. To Amarok. Okay. Yeah, Amarok is like, no. Like it's coming back. They're someone picked it up and they're gonna make a KF5 port, sure. But Amarok is like the current version of Amarok is not good. I think it's awful. In fact, I think the fact that Amarok has Wikipedia pages as like the front page of the system is like, no. Just no. Yeah, I liked Amarok 1.4. But Amarok's current is like, no. Just no. And I look forward to trying Strawberry. I do want to plan on playing with that. Anyway, so it's been 3 hours and 52 minutes. So basically 4 hours. And I think I should go ahead and end it because I said that 20 minutes ago I was going to end it in a couple minutes, and it's been 20 minutes since then. So I need to get to work to edit the show so that I can release it tomorrow, and I can get ready for the other shows and the stream tomorrow that I want to do. So I need to be ready to have all that stuff done, edited, and everything. So I need to go ahead and end the show. End the stream. I mean, because the show's over. End the stream. Yeah, Muon is actually in Kubuntu by default, by the way, Lucas. So, yeah, Muon's pretty cool. And Carlo Vanini saved Muon. Did not know that. That's cool. I need to... Hopefully they're actually maintaining Muon and not letting it die. Like, I mean, I know someone picked it up and fixed some bugs, but I'm hoping they're like porting it and stuff. So, yeah, anyway, thanks for coming to the stream, everybody. And I will be streaming again tomorrow. Remember that. I'll be streaming again tomorrow. The edited version of the show, if you missed any of it, will be released tomorrow as well. So I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'll be releasing the show tomorrow. Hopefully, if I can edit it well or fast enough, I will be releasing the episode of Destination Linux on Wednesday. Hopefully, I'll be able to release it early, maybe even tomorrow. Well, probably not tomorrow, but maybe. But definitely like Tuesday for patrons. So if you're a patron of destinationlinux.org, there's that. And yeah. And hopefully you enjoyed the show and everything. And I will be back tomorrow for the other stream. And for this show next week on Saturday instead of Sunday like today. So tomorrow and Saturday. And then also at least one more video coming this week. Extra. And then hopefully 2, because that's my plan. I keep Clementine going when it hasn't been updated in 2 years. Yeah, that's weird. I agree. Thanks for your work. The news of Sunday things. Enjoy the community's help. Oh, nice. You're totally welcome. Feel free to join the Telegram group at tuxdigital.com/Telegram. There's also a group for the Destination Linux podcast you can go to as destinationlinux.org/Telegram, as well as tuxdigital.com/Discord if you'd like to join that as well. And the same one, there's also one destinationlinux.org/Telegram as well. Wait, Discord as well. That is there too. So if you'd like to join those, feel free. And I'm going to go get something to eat. Because, by the way, I haven't eaten today. So it's been probably 28 hours since I last ate. Maybe 24. I don't remember. But a while. So I'm hungry now. When I'll watch what I've missed. Okay, nice. Very good company here on the chat. Nice. Yep. Thank you for coming to the stream. And also all the people who gave super chats. Very much appreciated. And I will see you all tomorrow. And in the Telegram whenever. And Saturday, this coming Saturday, for the next episode, 36. I might remember what episode number it is. We'll see. Anyway, thanks again. Have a good one.